Chapter 71. Sister Yao. Qin Wentian's eyes widened in a daze as he stared at that face. It was actually Qin Yao. As though she sensed something, Qin Yao's gaze also shifted in the direction of Qin Wentian. The instant she saw Qin Wentian, her heart violently trembled. Her beautiful eyes flickered with an intense light, as though she wanted nothing more than to rush down and reunite with Qin Wentian. Their gazes collided in midair. Qin Wentian reacted, as he took large strides towards Qin Wentian. No, now that Wentian is regarded highly by the Emperor Star Academy, it's better if I don't reunite with him. I don't want him to be dragged into this mess. Qin Yao's heart trembled as she saw Qin Wentian walking over. After which, she let down the curtains and commanded, "Hurry up." As the sound of her voice faded, the speed of the group increased. Qin Wentian had already rushed into the crowd, dashing towards Qin Yao. However, he only saw a silhouette on a horse blocking his path, coldly stating, "Don't get close." Qin Wentian's gaze froze. He could feel the aura of the person on the horse, but he knew that it was impossible for him to rush over. How could this be? Sister Yao saw me, but why did she pretend not to know me? Qin Wentian stood there dumbfounded. The rider coldly glanced at Qin Wentian, and upon seeing that Qin Wentian didn't move, the rider turned and departed. Very quickly, the silhouettes of the group disappeared, leaving Qin Wentian standing there in a daze. "Are you acquainted with the person inside?" Fan Lu walked over and asked. His gaze was still fixed on Qin Wentian as he nodded his head. "I heard from the passers-by that the person inside was one of the candidates for the Crown Prince's wife. Did you get the wrong person?" Fan Lu mumbled. "Snowcloud Country, there's no mistaking it. Sister Yao went to Snowcloud Country to cultivate at the start of the year. What exactly happened in these 7 to 8 months?" Qin Wentian's heart was in a state of chaos. "Let's go." Filled with bewilderment, Qin Wentian turned and continued his journey in the direction of the Emperor Star Academy. As for the matter regarding Qin Yao, he was prepared to find out more about it. He had to find out what exactly was going on. After Qin Wentian and Fan Lu brought Little Rascal back to the Emperor Star Academy, they discovered that many people were looking at them with strange gazes, causing them to involuntarily feel suspicious. Although they could be considered somewhat famous in the Emperor Star Academy, the gazes of the crowd today were somewhat strange, as though they were filled with pity. Qin Wentian is back. That guy went out to train for over 2 months. It is said that he secretly went to the dark forest. However, I'm afraid he's in for it this time. Many people murmured in a low voice. The news of Qin Wentian's return to the Emperor Star Academy quickly circulated around. When Qin Wentian returned to his residence, he found that there were many people outside, including Shinran. "Shinran, why are you here?" Qin Wentian asked suspiciously. "How did you guys offend Luo Qianqiu?" Shinran anxiously asked. Qin Wentian and Fan Lu exchanged glances. Luo Qianqiu, they didn't seem to know who this person was. 20 days ago, after Luo Qianqiu returned to the academy, he sent someone to pass a message to you, telling you to meet him. Shinran continued. "Luo Qianqiu, could it be that young Master Luo?" Qin Wentian mumbled. Back then, when he was fighting for the Blood Ember fruits, Zhaoyi and Franklin appeared, saying that young Master Luo was in the vicinity. Logan immediately offered the Blood Ember fruits to him. "Yes, it should be Luo Qianqiu. You guys really know how to cause trouble." This Luo Qianqiu is a legendary character in the academy. His talent is exceedingly high. Back then, the various elders fought intensely to recruit him. With a cultivation base at the 7th level of arterial circulation, not many people dared to antagonize him. Even those from the Knights Association were afraid of Luo Qianqiu, and never dared to offend him. I've already offended those from the Knights Association. Since I can't avoid it, there's no need to worry about one more. Qin Wentian was extremely calm. This Luo Qianqiu was truly tyrannical. The Blood Ember fruits he obtained in the dark forest already belonged to him. And when he arrived at the academy, Luo Qianqiu actually came looking for trouble, asking him to meet him. You still haven't figured it out. This Luo Qianqiu is different from those from the Knights Association. Those from the Knights Association have their own considerations, but Luo Qianqiu is different. He has always done whatever he wants, and other than the fact that he hasn't killed anyone within the academy grounds, He has done everything in the past. Not only that, I heard that the power behind him is extremely terrifying. Shinran anxiously explained. It's good that you guys understand. At this moment, a voice drifted over. Qin Wentian and the rest turned around, only to see a person walking over. This person was none other than Franklin, who had appeared together with Zhaoyi back then. You two actually dared to steal the things belonging to young Master Luo? Later on, bring the Blood Ember fruits to the Azura Association and beg for forgiveness. Maybe young Master Luo will be lenient with the two of you. Franklin stared at Qin Wentian and Fan Lu. These two fellows and that dog were the ones who had stolen the Blood Ember fruits cleanly. Steal? Qin Wentian and Fan Lu froze. The treasures in the dark forest belonged to whoever obtained them. What do you mean by stealing? At that time Luo Qianqiu wasn't even there. Qin Wentian faintly replied. Wasn't the words of Franklin a little too ridiculous? Since Logan gifted the Blood Ember fruits to young Master Luo, it already belongs to young Master Luo. No one else is allowed to touch it. Seeing that Qin Wentian had actually refuted, Franklin couldn't help but coldly snort. Don't think that just because you are valued by the Academy, you have the qualifications to disobey young Master Luo's orders. Young Master Luo can squash a character like Murongfeng to death with a single hand. After which, Franklin flicked his sleeves and turned to leave. He continued, if I don't see you within a day and you don't come and beg for forgiveness, you will have to bear the consequences. Young Master Luo's wrath is not something you can handle. Qin Wentian stared at Franklin's departing back as a cold glint of light flashed in his eyes. Even a lackey can be so arrogant. What a weirdo. Fan Le coldly remarked. Teacher and Sister Luo Huan. Why are you here as well? At this moment, Qin Wentian noticed two silhouettes in the distance. They were actually Mustang and Luo Huan. Little junior brother, you really know how to create trouble. Luo Huan smiled at Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to have a bitter smile on his face. It seemed that this Luo Qianqiu was indeed extraordinary. If not, Teacher Mustang and Senior Sister Luo Huan wouldn't have appeared here. I didn't provoke him at all. Qin Wentian shrugged his shoulders as he explained what had happened. Blood Ember fruit, no wonder. After hearing Qin Wentian's explanation, Luo Huan finally understood. Treasures were able to move people's hearts, especially the Blood Ember fruit, which could aid arterial circulation realm cultivators in breaking through to the next level. Wentian. At this moment, Mustang's gaze shifted onto Qin Wentian as he slowly stated, from the looks of it, there's no problem with your actions. On the contrary, you've already done very well. However, in this world there's no such thing as absolute right or wrong. Everything depends on one's strength. I can only say that your luck is bad, to have encountered Luo Qianqiu. Luo Qianqiu. Qin Wentian muttered in a low voice. Back then when he had offended Orkan, Mustang didn't even take him seriously. Evidently, in Mustang's eyes, Luo Qianqiu was even more important than Orkan. Wentian, since you've left the Sky Harmony City, you should understand this logic. Although the outside world is fascinating, it's also filled with dangers. Experts are as common as the clouds, and the number of disciples from the major powers is innumerable. Although your talent is extraordinary, it's not as easy as you imagine it to be for you to mature. How many geniuses have died prematurely in their youth? Mustang slowly explained to Qin Wentian, and this is still within the academy. In the future, when you leave the academy and roam the continent, you'll discover that this is even more so. Sometimes you have to endure. Teacher, if you have something to say, just tell Wentian. I understand. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled. He knew that Mustang wanted to say something, but he was afraid that Mustang would hurt his teacher's morale. Mustang's countenance stiffened, before he nodded his head. Go and see Luo Qianqiu. If there's anyone in the academy who dares to kill you, Luo Qianqiu would definitely be one of them. Qin Wentian's eyes narrowed as he asked, what is Luo Qianqiu's identity? For now there's no need for you to know. Mustang replied, Luo Huan will accompany you. If there are any more Blood Ember fruits, just give them to Luo Qianqiu. Qin Wentian muttered to himself for a moment before nodding his head with a smile. I will go and see him. Qin Wentian understood that Teacher Mustang was doing this for his own good. Since Luo Qianqiu wanted him to go and see him, he would go. Since this is the case, if there's anything else, you can chat with Luo Huan. I'll take my leave first. Mustang spoke and left. Luo Huan gently tousled Qin Wentian's hair as she smiled. Little junior brother, you've grown taller. And you seem even more handsome now. Qin Wentian rolled his eyes as he bitterly smiled. Senior sister, I have something that I need your help with. What is it? Luo Huan curiously inquired. Earlier, I saw my elder sister Qin Yao in the royal capital. Not only that, she came here together with people from Snowcloud. And it's said that she's one of the candidates for the crown prince's concubine. Senior sister, can you investigate this matter? Sure, leave this matter to me. I'll look for you tomorrow, and after that I'll go and see Luo Qianxiu. How about it? Okay. Qin Wentian nodded his head. Luo Huan and Xina also left, leaving behind only Fan Lu and Qin Wentian. Fan Lu stared at Qin Wentian as he asked, do you really want to go? Didn't you see that even Teacher Mustang is here? Of course I have to see him. Qin Wentian walked into the room, and Fan Lu followed him in. Feeling somewhat depressed, he said, seems like in the future, I have to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Qin Wentian understood Fan Li's meaning. If only they had sufficient strength back then, they would have been able to eliminate Logan, Franklin, and the others. Then the current situation wouldn't have happened. What about the blood ember fruits? Do you intend to hand them over? Fan Li curiously stared at Qin Wentian. He knew that although Qin Wentian appeared casual on the surface, he was actually extremely prideful in his heart. If he went to apologize and still wanted to hand over the blood ember fruits, he would definitely lose face. Qin Wentian took out the remaining blood ember fruits and threw them into his mouth, swallowing them in a single gulp. This caused Fan Li's expression to stiffen. This fellow was truly ruthless. After swallowing the blood ember fruits, Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with a cold light. Let's hope that Luo Qianxiu wouldn't go too far. As for the blood ember fruits, how could he possibly hand them over? In this world, strength was the most important thing. Without strength, what right do you have to be proud? Without strength, what right do you have to protect your dignity? Without strength, you can't even protect yourself. What right do you have to protect your family and friends? Chapter 72. Qin Wentian swallowed the rest of the blood ember fruits in a single gulp. If they wanted him to see Luo Qianxiu, he could accept it. But if they wanted him to hand over the blood ember fruits that could increase his strength, that was impossible. If his strength was stronger than Luo Qianxiu, he wouldn't be the one going to see Luo Qianxiu. The 3 blood ember fruits instantly caused Qin Wentian's body to burn up. Qin Wentian's face turned crimson red as his blood boiled. His face looked as though it would drip blood at any moment, and a terrifying energy was burning his arterial pathways and acupoints. Qin Wentian gritted his teeth as the violent divine energy and astral energy from the blood ember fruits frenziedly rushed into his arterial pathways and acupoints. Rumbling sounds rang out from within Qin Wentian's body, akin to the roaring of the sea. Qin Wentian ran over and closed the door, silently cursing Qin Wentian for being a madman. The sound of the blood ember fruits unceasingly rang out as Qin Wentian's internal organs were in a state of turmoil. The terrifying divine energy frenziedly rushed into his body, and after half a day, a new arterial pathway was opened up. Boundless astral energy flowed through the newly opened arterial pathway, circulating throughout his entire body. 4th level of arterial circulation? Fan Lu flipped over on his bed as he sensed the aura emanating from Qin Wentian. His eyes flickered with uncertainty. The effects of the blood ember fruits had yet to dissipate. Pervert. Cursing in a low voice, Fan Lu fell asleep. When he awoke, he discovered that Qin Wentian had already fallen asleep. Starlight shone in through the window, illuminating Qin Wentian's body. Evidently, after using the blood ember fruits, Qin Wentian immediately resumed his cultivation. After breaking through, Qin Wentian could store an even greater amount of astral energy in his body. If he wanted to condense divine energy, he would require even more astral energy. But now, the speed at which he condensed divine energy was much faster than before. After Qin Wentian awoke, he was still immersed in his cultivation. Feeling the surging energy within his body, his mood couldn't help but improve. Nowadays, Qin Wentian had a strong desire for strength. Sometimes he would think that it would be good if time could pass faster. When Luo Huan arrived, Qin Wentian was still in the midst of his cultivation. Fan Lu woke him up only to see Luo Huan smiling at him. Little junior brother is really hardworking. Senior sister, please don't laugh at me. I am so weak. If I don't grow stronger, I'm afraid I won't even know how I died in the future, said Qin Wentian with a bitter smile. It's already very good. After all, you've only been cultivating for less than a year. Luo Huan's beautiful eyes flickered as she smiled. The matter you asked me to find out has already been completed. Qin Yao is indeed one of the candidates to become the crown princess of the Snow Cloud country. However, based on the information I've gathered, there's almost no hope for her to become the crown princess of the Snow Cloud country. I'm afraid that in the future, she can only be a concubine of the Snow Cloud Emperor. Qin Wentian's expression froze. Imperial concubines? As the descendant of the Chu country's marshal, it would indeed be extremely difficult for Qin Yao to become the legal wife of the Snow Cloud country. I have to ask Sister Qin Yao if she was willing to do so, or if she was forced by others. Qin Wentian drew in a deep breath. Why did she come to Chu? Qin Wentian asked. She came to the Royal Academy with a few youths from the Snow Cloud Martial Academy. But according to my conjecture, your sister Qin Yao has another motive. In order to save Qin Wu and Qin Chuan, she wanted to use the name of Snow Cloud to exert pressure on Chu. Qin Wentian nodded his head. Qin Yao naturally wanted to save Grandpa Qin and his father. In addition, I have to tell you a piece of bad news. Luo Huan continued. Orkan's cultivation base has broken through to the 9th level of arterial circulation, and his strength is several times stronger than before. Got it. Qin Wentian nodded his head as he sighed in his heart. Everyone was working hard to improve themselves. If he wasn't strong enough, others would leave him in the dust. Okay, let's go meet Luo Qianqiu. Right? Qin Wentian nodded his head. After which, Luo Huan led him and Fan Lu away. On the arena of the Emperor Star Academy, 2 silhouettes were currently sparring. Although it was just a sparring session, their methods were extremely ruthless, and each strike was fatal. There were many spectators in the surroundings, and the atmosphere was extremely lively. This time around, Luo Qianqiu's strength has grown even stronger. Even Nantian couldn't defend against his attacks. In the future, young Master Luo will definitely become the true leader of our Azura faction. Many in the crowd smiled and nodded their heads as they stared at the 2 silhouettes on the arena. Luo Qianqiu was indeed a demon-level character. His rate of growth was too fast, and this was only his 2nd year in the Emperor Star Academy, yet he was already so terrifying. On the arena, the sound of an intense collision rang out as the 2 silhouettes separated. After which, Nantian laughed. Qianqiu, you've grown even stronger. I'm afraid that I won't be your opponent in the near future. Luo Qianqiu was clad in a green robe, appearing extremely neat and tidy. His handsome features as well as his long hair fluttering in the wind caused people to look up to him. He was Luo Qianqiu, a legendary character from the previous batch of students in the Emperor Star Academy. Currently, he had already reached the peak of the 7th level of arterial circulation. Not only that, his combat prowess would only grow even stronger. Luo Qianqiu didn't deny Nantian's words. In fact, even if he were to fight against Nantian now, he didn't think that he would lose. Young Master Luo. At this moment below the arena, Pharaoh called out. After which, he turned his gaze to a spot not far away, only to see 3 silhouettes walking over. They were none other than Luo Huan, Qin Wentian, and Fan Lu. The 2 beside Luo Huan are none other than Qin Wentian and Fan Lu. The incident that happened back then was caused by the 2 of them. Pharaoh spoke, causing Luo Qianqiu's gaze to shift in the direction of Luo Huan. His eyes instantly locked onto Qin Wentian. Was this person the top ranker of the new batch of students? Qin Wentian, Fan Lu, and the rest walked to a location not far away from the arena. They stared at the silhouette standing on the arena. This person exuded an extraordinary aura, and just by standing there, he attracted the attention of everyone. Although Orkan was also powerful, Orkan was extremely cold. If one were to compare Luo Qianqiu with Orkan, Luo Qianqiu would definitely be more arrogant. Luo Qianqiu calmly stood there, staring at Qin Wentian as he asked, "Are you the one who stole my blood ember fruits?" Qin Wentian and Fan Lu silently shook their heads. However, they also understood that in the current situation, if Luo Qianqiu said it was his, then it was his. Back then when we were fighting for the blood ember fruits, I didn't know senior brother Luo. I hope senior brother won't blame me. Qin Wentian replied. Let's cut the crap. I'm sure you still have more blood ember fruits, right? Hand them all over. Luo Qianqiu stood on the arena, his voice indifferent as he calmly stated. The surrounding crowd stared at the silhouette. Although Qin Wentian was also a famous character, there was still a gap between him and Luo Qianqiu. The two of them were still not on the same level. The members of the Azura Alliance also had expressions of interest on their faces. This fellow actually dared to interfere with Luo Qianqiu's blood ember fruits? The blood ember fruits have already been consumed by me. I hope senior brother can forgive me. Qin Wentian was still as polite as ever. However, expressions of interest appeared on the faces of the spectators. Since the blood ember fruits had already been consumed, there was no longer any meaning for Qin Wentian to come here. Luo Qianqiu lifted his feet and walked down the stairs. You actually dare to swallow my things? As the sound of his voice faded, a terrifying pressure gushed towards Qin Wentian. Faint flashes of lightning could be seen flickering in the air. The pressure was extremely intense. Boom! Qin Wentian steadied his steps as he stared at Luo Qianqiu. His teacher Mustang and Luo Huan had asked him to come, and he had come to express his attitude. However, he had already consumed the blood ember fruits yesterday, and had no intentions of handing them over. What Luo Qianqiu wanted to do was not something he could control. Luo Huan's beautiful eyes flashed with a strange light as she stared at Qin Wentian with a bitter smile on her face. This fellow had actually consumed all the blood ember fruits. Boom! Luo Qianqiu stepped down from the platform. His aura grew even stronger, akin to a raging tempest. That terrifying might of lightning slammed into Qin Wentian's body. The spectators stared at Luo Qianqiu, silently cursing his tyranny. This Qin Wentian was truly unlucky. However, no one sympathized with him. This was a world where strength was everything. Boom! With his third step, Luo Qianqiu appeared in front of Qin Wentian. After which, he lifted his fist and punched towards Qin Wentian. The explosive might of lightning contained within his fist was so strong that it seemed as though it wanted to destroy everything. Qin Wentian felt his scalp going numb as he felt an immense pressure weighing down on him. Gathering all the energy in his body, Qin Wentian's countenance was calm to the extreme. Taking a step forward, he blasted out with the revolving sea imprint as Luo Qianqiu's fist slammed towards him. A thunderous sound echoed out as the raging tempest instantly destroyed the revolving sea imprint. The terrifying might of the attack slammed into Qin Wentian, causing him to groan in agony as he retreated explosively, spitting out a mouthful of fresh blood. Luo Huan's beautiful eyes flickered. She didn't help Qin Wentian. There were some things that Qin Wentian had to face by himself. Arrogant. The crowd stared at Luo Qianqiu's silhouette, only to see him stepping forward once more. His silhouette was akin to a gust of wind, exuding an intense killing intent. Qin Wentian inclined his head, his calm eyes flashing with a cold killing intent. As the raging tempest neared him, the killing intent in his eyes grew denser and denser. Show mercy. At this moment, a thunderous sound rang out in the air, following which, the crowd only saw a silhouette soaring through the air. Luo Qianqiu's fist stopped right in front of Qin Wentian. The terrifying pressure from the fist slammed into Qin Wentian's face, causing his long hair to flutter in the wind. Luo Qianqiu didn't even bother to look at Qin Wentian. Instead, he inclined his head and stared at the white-robed silhouette in the air. Ling Hua. Luo Qianqiu stared at the silhouette in the air. Can you give me some face? Ling Hua spoke. Luo Qianqiu swept a glance at Qin Wentian. Even at this moment, his countenance was as calm as ever. Maybe in his heart, he didn't even place Qin Wentian in his eyes. Fine. Since the leader of the Green Cloud Alliance has personally spoken, I will forget about this matter. Luo Qianqiu turned around, as the members of the Azura Alliance watched this scene with interest. They didn't expect that Ling Hua would actually plead for mercy on behalf of Qin Wentian. They had initially thought that if Luo Qianqiu wanted to kill Qin Wentian, the Academy would be the one to step out. The members of the Azura Alliance departed. The crowd stared at Luo Qianqiu's back, as traces of respect could be seen in their eyes. Who wouldn't have known of the demon-level talent of the Emperor Star Academy? Luo Qianqiu. Compared to him, the current Qin Wentian was still lacking. Today, Qin Wentian could be considered to have escaped with his life. Qin Wentian still stood there, his left sleeve covering his palm. Within his sleeve, a golden short sword could be seen. It was a third-rank divine weapon, the Gold Punisher Sword. Did Qin Wentian really escape with his life? If Ling Hua hadn't appeared, the one who died wouldn't have been Qin Wentian. Chapter 73. Qin Wentian's countenance was as calm as ever. From Luo Qianqiu's eyes he could see disregard. Luo Qianqiu didn't care about him at all. What Luo Qianqiu wanted was the blood ember fruits. From his point of view, the blood ember fruits belonged to him. Luo Qianqiu didn't care about Qin Wentian's life or death. In Luo Qianqiu's eyes it didn't matter whether he killed Qin Wentian or not. Keeping the gold element sword in his sleeves, Qin Wentian smiled as he watched Luo Qianqiu's departing figure. Initially, he didn't care if Luo Qianqiu was a demon-level genius of the academy, but now he did. The humiliation he suffered today, he would definitely repay it tenfold in the future. Junior brother, Luo Huan called out. Qin Wentian turned his gaze over and smiled at Luo Huan. It was as though he had already forgotten everything that had happened earlier. Before trampling on Luo Qianqiu's strength, so what if he cared? Many thanks, senior brother. Qin Wentian then glanced at Ling Hua in the air as he expressed his thanks. If Ling Hua hadn't appeared, he would have killed Luo Qianqiu. Regardless of who Luo Qianqiu was, how could he let them off when they wanted to kill him? However, after killing Luo Qianqiu, he was afraid that he would be in deep trouble. Ling Hua's appearance at the very least helped him avoid that. What he needed to do now was to silently raise his strength. No need to stand on ceremony. Work hard. Ling Hua smiled and nodded to Qin Wentian before walking away. Senior sister, I still need you to help me with something. Qin Wentian stared at Luo Huan as he spoke. You don't need to stand on ceremony with me. Luo Huan hugged Qin Wentian's arm. I wish to see my sister Qin Yao. Does senior sister have any way to help me arrange it? Qin Wentian asked. Your sister should be in the Royal Academy right now. I'll think of a way. If there's any news, I'll look for you. Luo Huan's beautiful eyes flashed with contemplation. I'll have to trouble senior sister then. Qin Wentian smiled. Don't worry about such a small matter. What you should do is to raise your strength. Yes, I understand. The corners of Qin Wentian's lips curled up slightly, as a playful smile appeared on his face. Luo Qianqiu, Orkan, and the Knights Association. He was looking forward to the future. With them accompanying him on his path of growth, he would definitely not be lonely. Qin Wentian was happy to accept these challenges. All of this would urge him to ceaselessly become stronger. After returning to his residence, Qin Wentian spent a few days stabilizing his cultivation base. The effects of the 3 blood ember fruits were still present in his body, and Qin Wentian continued to extract more energy from them, stimulating his acupoints and expanding his arterial pathways. Occasionally, he would make a trip to the Divine Weapon Pavilion to forge divine weapons, and bring some Yuan meteor stones over to cultivate. The cultivation of the spiritual refinement method was extremely taxing on Yuan meteor stones. Fan Lu seemed to have been stimulated as well. These few days, he was extremely hard-working in his cultivation, and would occasionally head to the Heavenly Star Pavilion and the Astral River Hall, Dreamsky Forest Dreamland, City of Illusions. In a spacious area, 2 people were currently engaged in combat. One of them was clad in the robes of a knight, while the other was clad in a simple white robe. However, on his face, there was a fiery Kirin mask that exuded an aura of savagery. Gotcha! A crisp sound rang out as the person clad in the knight's robes had one of his arms broken. The pain caused him to perspire unceasingly. However, the white-robed figure had no intentions of letting him go. His arm was akin to a dragon's claw, and abruptly, his other arm trembled. In an instant, a scream of agony rang out as the other arm of the knight was forcibly broken. Who are you? Which academy are you from? The countenance of the knight paled as he howled in rage. He was a member of the Knights Association, yet there was actually someone who dared to kill him in such a manner? Gotcha! Another 2 sounds rang out, as the legs of the Knights Association were broken. Like a corpse, he lay limply on the ground. The white-robed figure immediately departed, disappearing from this area. Not long after, the silhouettes of a group of knights rushed over. Upon seeing their comrade who was curled up on the ground, a cold light flickered in their eyes as they asked, "Who did this?" This was torture, a cruel punishment. Only enemies would do such a thing in the dreamland. "I don't know, I'm wearing the Kirin mask." That person was in so much pain that his entire body was convulsing. "Kill me first." And one of the knights nodded his head, as a long spear pierced through the skull of that person, killing him. Momentarily, that person exited the dreamland. Qin Wentian sprinted in the city of illusions, his body akin to that of a great rock soaring through the skies, appearing extremely carefree and at ease. His face was covered by the Kirin mask. Since members of the Knights Association could enter the dreamland while wearing the robes of a Knights Association, Qin Wentian wanted to see if it would be the same when he entered the dreamland while wearing the Kirin mask. Evidently, he had succeeded. As long as he met any member of the Knights Association that wasn't too strong, he would mercilessly torture them. Back then, Qin Wentian would never forget the scene of those ice-cold long spears piercing into Fan Li's body. The sprinting Qin Wentian halted his steps on a circular stone platform. He slowly turned and spoke, "You've been following me for so long, come out." From the side of a building a silhouette walked out. This silhouette had an exquisite figure, with extremely beautiful curves. It was actually a woman, but her face couldn't be seen clearly. She was the same as Qin Wentian, wearing a mask. "I've watched your battle." The dragon subduing fist combined with the Qin Na fist. How ruthless. The voice of the woman was melodious as she slowly walked towards Qin Wentian. And then, Qin Wentian calmly asked, "I still want to see how fast your movement technique is." After speaking, the woman's body was like a raging gale as she dashed towards Qin Wentian. Her palms abruptly blasted out, as though a terrifying tempest was tearing through the air. Qin Wentian continuously stepped out. His movements were incomparably exquisite. His entire person flickered as he transformed into a series of afterimages. "Humph," the woman coldly snorted. Her palms grew sharper and sharper, akin to a sharp blade sweeping through the air. Her speed was also extremely fast, and the movement techniques of the two of them were both extremely exquisite. As the battle continued, the woman was astonished. Every single palm strike of hers brushed past Qin Wentian's body. Every time it seemed as though she was about to land a blow, her opponent would always be able to evade at the most dangerous moment. His movement technique was extremely exquisite. Abruptly, she released her astral souls, causing a terrifying tempest to arise in this space. The woman lightly snorted, as boundless palm force blasted out from within the tempest. Qin Wentian felt as though his entire surroundings were being enveloped by the tempest. He could only lift his palms to defend himself. Dragon roars echoed out as his fists were instantly blasted apart. However, his body borrowed the force of the impact and floated far away, appearing extremely carefree. "What's the use of dodging?" The woman coldly snorted. Her movement technique increased in speed, as a tyrannical tempest engulfed Qin Wentian within it. Her silhouette instantly appeared beside Qin Wentian, as countless palm imprints blasted out simultaneously. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed like lightning. His body transformed into a shadow as he executed the Garuda movement technique to the extreme, consecutively dodging several palm imprints. It was an extremely thrilling experience. At the same time, he punched out, aiming for the woman's face. The expression in the woman's eyes changed as she saw the incoming fist light. "Come again tomorrow." As the sound of her voice faded, the dragon subduing fists blasted out, destroying the woman. At the same time, Qin Wentian had no way to dodge the palm imprint of his opponent, and was also blasted out of the dreamscape. "Who?" In the dreamsky forest, Qin Wentian drew in a deep breath. His body was currently lying in a secluded location. Removing his mask, Qin Wentian sat up. 5th level of arterial circulation, storm-type astral soul, powerful movement techniques, and powerful palm techniques. "I wonder which academy she is from," Qin Wentian mumbled. Battling with that woman was beneficial to the tempering of his Garuda movement technique. Of course, the prerequisite was that he didn't use his divine energy to directly kill his opponent. Leaving the dream sky forest, Qin Wentian continued his cultivation. The next day he entered the Dream Sky Forest and entered the City of Illusions, continuing his training. At the same time, he didn't forget to kill members of the Knights Association. When he arrived at the location yesterday, the woman was still there. "This time around you won't be so lucky," the woman spoke as she instantly dashed towards Qin Wentian. The two of them exchanged moves once again. And in the end, Qin Wentian blasted his opponent to death once again. For the next few days, the woman came to the City of Illusions every day, and although she was blasted to death again and again, she didn't seem to mind. When sparring with Qin Wentian, she discovered that her innate techniques had improved by leaps and bounds. However, what made her depressed was that the Kirin masked man's improvement was even faster than hers. Although his cultivation base was weaker than hers, he was still able to kill her every time. To Qin Wentian, this was merely a small interlude. Every day, he would head to that place to battle, and it would be beneficial to him in tempering his movement techniques. But other than tempering his movement techniques, he was also tempering his combat prowess. After challenging many opponents in the City of Illusions, many people started to know that there was a person wearing a Kirin mask in the City of Illusions. His attacks were extremely ruthless, and his combat prowess was also extraordinary. In the Royal Academy, there was also a Dream Sky Forest, which was created by the seniors of the Emperor Star Academy. At this moment in the Dream Sky Forest of the Royal Academy, a woman took off her mask and stomped her feet, as though she was unwilling to give up. "Bastard!" Mu Rou cursed in a low voice as she was blasted out once again. That fellow really didn't know how to show mercy to the fairer sex. This time around she didn't even have the chance to speak before he killed her. "What's wrong? Are Miss Mu is being abused again?" A low laugh drifted over from the side. It was also a masked young woman. The two of them walked out of the Dream Sky Forest, taking off their masks at the same time. Both of them were exceedingly beautiful. "Screw you, but that fellow's movement technique is truly powerful. Even now I can't even touch him," Mu Rou said in a depressed tone. "Is that so? Tomorrow I shall go and meet him as well. Who exactly is he that our Miss Mu can't forget about every day?" Chu Ling teased. "Are you still free? Didn't your clan ask you to accompany Qin Yao?" Mu Rou asked. A woman from a rebellious clan actually became the crown princess of Snow Cloud Country. What a joke. Chu Ling disdainfully replied. "You can't do that, the Qin clan is actually quite pitiful as well." Mu Rou sighed. "It's fine if you say this in front of me, but don't speak nonsense outside." Chu Ling's countenance changed. Mu Rou lightly nodded her head. She naturally understood. Chapter 74. Today Luo Huan arrived at Qin Wentian's residence. However, she only saw Fan Lu and Little Rascal. "Where's Wentian?" Luo Huan asked. "Senior sister, come in and have a seat." Fan Li's eyes shone with a bright light when he saw Luo Huan. "That fellow has been training in the Dream Sky Forest from day to night." "He's too crazy," Fan Lu replied. Luo Huan's beautiful eyes flickered. That fellow, the matter with Luo Qianqiu must have caused him to feel agitated. After all, Luo Qianqiu's disregard for the Dream Sky Forest was something that even she couldn't stand. Naturally, such agitation was also the driving force behind Qin Wentian's actions. "I'll sit here and wait for him to return. Fatty, come out and chat with me." Luo Huan sat down in front of an ancient tree outside the residence. Fatty nodded as he excitedly ran over, silently praying in his heart that Qin Wentian wouldn't return today. At this moment, Qin Wentian was still in the City of Illusions. His fiery red Kirin mask exuded a malevolent aura. Below his feet, an expert from the Knights Association screamed in agony as he stared venomously at Qin Wentian. Who was it that was targeting their Knights Association? The strength of this masked man was growing stronger and stronger. They were even suspecting if this was the same person. Abruptly, several figures clad in the robes of the Knights Association appeared on the roofs of the surrounding buildings. Their gazes were incomparably cold, and their killing intent was ferocious. "I really want to see who exactly you are." Yunaro's eyes gleamed with sharpness as he stared directly at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian inclined his head and similarly stared at Yunaro. Back then, Yunaro had blocked his path and injured him with a single finger strike. It was Rain who had helped him out of the predicament. Orkan wasn't in the academy, and it seemed that Yunaro was temporarily in charge of the Knights Association. Stretching out his hand, Qin Wentian pointed at Yunaro as he executed a decapitation gesture. His eyes, which were not covered by the mask, flickered with killing intent. Yunaro's countenance stiffened. What an arrogant fellow! The silhouettes of the Knights Association flickered as they dashed towards Qin Wentian. However, at the same time, Qin Wentian also sped towards a certain direction. His silhouette flickered, leaving behind numerous afterimages. Kill! The expert from the Knights Association who blocked Qin Wentian had a cultivation base at the 5th level of arterial circulation. His spear pierced out with the speed of lightning, and just as it was about to pierce into Qin Wentian's body twisted slightly. A gust of wind gusted by, and the expert from the Knights Association felt a bone-chilling coldness emanating from his neck. Qin Wentian walked past him and continued to move forward. Divine origin energy gathered under his feet, and he suddenly stomped on the ground. His body soared into the sky like a rock spreading its wings, and he landed on the top of a building. Turning his head back, Qin Wentian's gaze pierced straight towards Yunaro, after which, his silhouette disappeared from the sight of the experts from the Knights Association. This movement technique. Yunaro's countenance stiffened as he stared at the gigantic building. He knew that he wouldn't be able to do such a thing as leaping up into the air. I really want to see who you are. Yunaro dashed forwards, madly chasing after Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's body was as light as a swallow, sprinting madly, shaking off the experts from the Knights Association. The current him was no longer the same Qin Wentian, who had just entered the Emperor Star Academy. He believed that it wouldn't be long before he could trample Yunaro beneath his feet. Unknowingly, he had once again arrived at the location where he fought against that female cultivator. But this time around he saw two people. Other than the female cultivator from before, there was another female cultivator wearing a phoenix mask. Kirin mask, is that him? Chu Ling asked Muro. Muro nodded her head, causing an expression of interest to appear on Chu Ling's face. My movement technique has improved a little these past few days, and I still have to thank you. Muro shifted her gaze onto Qin Wentian as she stated, My name is Muro, a student from the Royal Academy. Can we get to know each other? After which, Muro removed the mask on her face, revealing her beautiful countenance. Muro and Chu Ling both stared at Qin Wentian, as though they were waiting for him to remove his mask. However, under their gazes, Qin Wentian turned and lifted his foot, departing the area. Muro's countenance stiffened as a hint of disappointment flickered in her eyes. She had already removed her mask, yet this fellow didn't even have the slightest interest in getting to know her? Stop right there! Chu Ling shouted. Qin Wentian halted his steps as he calmly stared at Muro. Aren't you a little too insincere? Muro has already removed her mask. How can you still be like this? Chu Ling unhappily stated. Qin Wentian's eyes flickered as he replied. Did I agree to anything? Muro and Chu Ling froze, not knowing what to say. It seemed like it was indeed Muro's one-sided wish to get to know him. In reality, she and Qin Wentian had never truly spoken to each other before. The only reason why she wanted to get to know him was because the two of them sparred with each other every day. Who would have thought that Qin Wentian couldn't even be bothered with her? In another direction, several silhouettes appeared, causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flash with a cold light. These fellows were really chasing after him. Yunaro. Muro's countenance changed. She didn't expect to meet this fellow here. Muro. Yunaro's countenance flickered with interest as he slowly walked forward. With a smile he stated, Muro, ever since we parted, I've missed you a lot. Yunaro, don't talk nonsense. Muro coldly retorted. Why are you always bothering Muro? Chu Ling cursed in a low voice, causing Yunaro's gaze to shift to the masked Chu Ling as he laughed. So it's Princess Ling. So what if I am? You have no sense of shame. Chu Ling removed her mask as she coldly replied. Is that so? A cold light flickered in Yunaro's eyes as he walked towards Muro and Chu Ling, causing Muro's countenance to change as she asked, What do you want? I don't want to do anything. Since we've met in this dreamscape, Muro, why must you be so distant? Yunaro walked towards Muro, his eyes gleaming with sharpness. These two girls really didn't give him any face. Kill him? At the same time, Yunaro pointed his finger at Qin Wentian. Immediately, a few members of the Knights Association surrounded Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian, who was originally prepared to leave, didn't feel like leaving at this moment. Staring at the silhouettes surrounding him, he abruptly dashed towards one of them. That person stared at Qin Wentian as he released his astral souls. His palms blasted outwards as a terrifying surge of energy gushed forth, transforming into the form of a roaring python. Qin Wentian's palms trembled. This time around he didn't evade. Instead, he punched out with the dragon-subduing fists. Draconic roars echoed in the air as the tyrannical divine energy contained within the dragon-subduing fists crushed everything in its path. With a thunderous boom, the head of that person exploded, dying instantly. This scene caused the countenance of the silhouette that was rushing over to stiffen. But at this moment he only felt Qin Wentian's silhouette transforming into a blur, so blurry that he couldn't even see him clearly. He felt a cold sensation on his neck as a gust of raging wind gusted by. Yanaro, Muro, and Chuling all witnessed this scene. A cold light flickered in Yanaro's eyes, while the beautiful eyes of Muro and Chuling shone with a strange light. Qin Wentian's strength was extremely strong. 5th level of arterial circulation. Yanaro's gaze was as sharp as a blade. During these few days, the person who hunted the members of the Knights Association had actually advanced from the 4th level of arterial circulation to the 5th level of arterial circulation? Or could it be that Qin Wentian had intentionally concealed his true strength before this? In the past, when we fought, he actually didn't use his full strength. Muro's beautiful eyes froze as she felt the pressure. Her cultivation base was also at the 5th level of arterial circulation, but when Qin Wentian fought with her previously, he had always been at the 4th level of arterial circulation. In reality, when Qin Wentian sparred with her for the first time, his cultivation base was indeed at the 4th level of arterial circulation. It was only because of his crazy cultivation that he had stepped into the 5th level of arterial circulation 2 days ago. Qin Wentian stopped not far away from Yanaro. The aura of a cultivator at the 5th level of arterial circulation was incomparably tyrannical as he spoke to Muro. "Let's go. Be careful." Muro nodded her head as she left together with Chu Ling. The students of the academy could do whatever they wanted in the dreamscape, and Yanaro didn't care about the rules at all. It was indeed possible that he would do something that would embarrass her. "I'm really curious, who are you exactly?" Yanaro's aura of a cultivator at the 7th level of arterial circulation erupted forth. Taking a step forward, a terrifying pressure bore down on Qin Wentian. His body trembled as he stabbed out with his finger, aiming for Qin Wentian. Numerous sharp swords appeared in the air. Qin Wentian didn't retreat. Instead, he punched out with the dragon-subduing fist, shattering the finger light as the roars of dragons echoed out. "Humph!" Yanaro snorted as he took a step forward. His 5 fingers punched out, and it was as though there were countless sharp swords howling in the air as they slashed out. Qin Wentian didn't retreat. Instead, he abruptly stepped out, causing the ground to tremble. His silhouette transformed into a blur as he dashed towards Yanaro. Even though he was punching out with his fists, the violent divine energy within his body was still as ferocious as before. "You are courting death." Yanaro roared in rage. His entire body was enveloped in sword chi, penetrating through everything. Both his palms slammed out, as though there were countless beams of sword light slashing towards Qin Wentian, tearing apart the entire space. The sound of metal clashing rang out unceasingly. Yanaro coldly laughed in his heart. His opponent allowed the sword chi to attack him, and his body was as fast as lightning. His fists howled as they blasted towards Yanaro's head. Scram! Yanaro roared in rage. His palms were like swords as he slashed out. His opponent's body swayed once again, and he managed to dodge the attack. His sword pierced into his opponent's body, but his fist had also blasted apart his opponent's head. Yanaro let out a low growl when he woke up in the dream sky forest. He had actually been killed by a mere 5th level arterial circulation realm cultivator. What a great humiliation! Which academy was this person from? How could he be so crazy? Ignoring the pain of the sword chi piercing into his body, he still wanted to kill him. Naturally, he wouldn't have thought that the person who killed him was actually Qin Wentian. Although Qin Wentian had used the dragon-subduing fist, there were many people who knew the dragon-subduing fist. And in his impression, Qin Wentian was just a weakling with a decent talent. At the same time, Qin Wentian was already thinking that the next time they fought, the ending would be different. Chapter 75. Qin Wentian stood up and left the Dream Sky Forest. In his heart he was thinking, if he was the one fighting against Yanaro, what would have happened? Wentian. Qin Wentian, who was in the midst of contemplation, turned to Luo Huan upon hearing her voice. Smiling, he greeted, "Senior sister, you're here?" Didn't you say that you wanted to meet with your sister Qin Yao? I've asked around for you, there's someone who can help you with this matter. Luo Huan spoke to Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to feel joy. He really wanted to meet with Qin Yao and have a chat with her. What are the arrangements? Qin Wentian inquired. 7 days later, there will be a banquet personally hosted by the third prince. In name, Qin Yao is invited, but at the same time, there are also many people from the aristocratic circles invited. I've already contacted some acquaintances, and they can arrange for you to attend. However, you might meet some people you don't wish to see, so I'm not sure if you're willing to go. Luo Huan smiled, causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flicker with sharpness. Banquet of the royal clan. The people of Snowcloud Country are very protective of Qin Yao. It won't be easy to meet with her. Luo Huan continued. Qin Wentian naturally understood this point. His status was extremely awkward. It was naturally impossible for someone from the Qin clan to enter the aristocratic circles. Senior sister, I've troubled you to ask for help from the aristocratic circles. Qin Wentian gratefully thanked Qin Yao. Since there was such an opportunity, he naturally wouldn't miss it. You are really stubborn. Luo Huan rolled her eyes at Qin Wentian. I don't dislike those from the aristocratic circles. On the contrary, many of them are extremely outstanding. Other than a few silk pants like Yi Wuke and Orkan, they are all extremely outstanding. What I don't like is that they have brought that kind of atmosphere to the Emperor Star Academy. Wentian, in this royal capital you have to be vigilant at all times. Don't underestimate your enemies. For example, in the royal clan of Chu, there are 4 princes and 5 princesses. These 4 princes are all exceedingly outstanding. The third prince that I mentioned earlier is one of them. He's also the most likely candidate to inherit the Chu country. This time around you should pay attention to him. Yes. Qin Wentian lightly nodded his head, feeling moved in his heart. The fact that the members of the Knights Association were able to form such a powerful force within the Emperor Star Academy undoubtedly proved how outstanding the members of the Knights Association were. With a large amount of resources they all worked hard to cultivate. For ordinary people, if they didn't work hard and didn't struggle, it would be very difficult to compare with them. Hence, countless people wanted to enter the Emperor Star Academy. Because in here they could rely on their own hard work to obtain good cultivation techniques, innate techniques, and other cultivation resources. Not only that, they wouldn't need to be restricted by others. Senior sister, there are still 7 days left. During these 7 days, can you help me temper my movement technique? Qin Wentian asked Luo Huan. You want senior sister to accompany you for so long? Luo Huan smiled as she looked at Qin Wentian. Senior sister, my movement technique has reached a bottleneck. You have to help me. Qin Wentian shamelessly replied. Naturally, he would only do this to people he was close to. Evidently, he had already treated Luo Huan as his own kin. Okay. Luo Huan giggled. Ever since she first met Qin Wentian, it had already been 8 months. She watched as Qin Wentian gradually matured, shedding away the immaturity that he once had. Experience would allow him to slowly transform. I also want to temper my movement technique. Fatty pitifully stared at Luo Huan. With that body of yours? Luo Huan disdainfully glanced at Fatty. Fatty's countenance instantly collapsed. This was too much bullying. In Luo Huan's residence on a piece of empty land, Fatty sat at the side while Little Rascal squatted beside him, its eyes staring straight ahead. In front of them, Luo Huan's long whip transformed into countless whip shadows that filled the sky, lashing out in a frenzy. As for Qin Wentian, his footwork had also reached the pinnacle of perfection. Just by looking at his footwork, one would feel a sense of profoundness. In that empty space, only his afterimage could be seen. This fellow's cultivation base has already reached the 5th level of arterial circulation, And his movement technique is also so powerful. Fatty's eyes shone. It seemed like Qin Wentian's hard work these few days had not been in vain. Back then, he had despised Qin Wentian for having a low cultivation base. Now, he had been left behind, and was only at the peak of the 4th level of arterial circulation. Pung! A crisp sound rang out. Qin Wentian's body was coiled around by the long whip as his robes were torn apart. Stabilizing his body, he bitterly smiled. Senior sister, there's no need to be so ruthless. If I'm not serious, how can you feel the pressure? Luo Huan giggled, and before the sound of her voice faded, another illusory whip swept past. Qin Wentian's steps faltered, and the long whip whistled past his body, causing him to be speechless. He could only focus and use all his strength to evade. The feeling of being hit by a long whip wasn't so pleasant. After half a day, Qin Wentian's entire body was drenched in sweat. His robes were torn apart, and traces of blood seeped out. Fatty's heart trembled as he silently swore that he wouldn't do something as foolish as Qin Wentian. Okay, take a rest. How do you feel? Luo Huan giggled as she looked at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian walked towards Luo Huan, only to see her perspiration dripping down her body. Her hair was wet, and her voluptuous figure was illuminated by the perspiration, with her breasts faintly discernible. Looking at this alluring scene, Qin Wentian had the urge to have a nosebleed. Senior sister, you are so beautiful. Qin Wentian laughed, causing Luo Huan to freeze. Staring at the silhouette in front of her, she laughed. Good brat, you actually dare to tease your senior sister. I'm just speaking the truth. Qin Wentian shrugged his shoulders. Okay, let's continue. Luo Huan's eyes flashed with a brilliant light as she giggled, causing Qin Wentian to shiver. The two of them continued. Under Luo Huan's oppressive guidance, Qin Wentian's movement technique improved every day. Finally, on the 5th day, his Garuda movement technique stepped into the perfect grade. He was only left with the final step, the divine movement realm. However, if he wanted to reach the divine movement realm, he would still need to hunt more demonic beasts. After stepping into the perfect grade movement technique, even Luo Huan had to be a little more serious in order to hit Qin Wentian. That perfect grade movement technique, as well as his lightning-fast movements, caused her to be extremely shocked. She also gained a new understanding of the extremely difficult to cultivate Garuda movement technique. In the City of Illusions, Mu Rou had just finished a battle. Unknowingly, she returned to that familiar place. Staring at the empty stone platform, she felt a tinge of disappointment in her heart. That fellow actually didn't appear again. Mu Rou's beautiful eyes flickered. Ever since she removed her mask, that Qilin masked man had never appeared again. Initially, she wanted to thank him, but she didn't even have the chance to do so. Maybe it was because of the habit she had developed during that period of time. Mu Rou still wanted to come here and spar with that Qilin masked man, tempering her movement technique. Sadly, she didn't know when he would appear again. Miss Mu, are you thinking of love again? At this moment, a lovable laughter drifted over. Mu Rou turned and glared at the phoenix masked woman. I only wanted to thank him in person. How could it be as dirty as you make it out to be? Is that so? Then why do you still come here every day? Chu Ling asked suspiciously. I'm just trying my luck. These few days my movement technique has improved again, so I wanted to spar with him. Mu Rou's voice was soft and gentle. Okay, let's go out. There are still 2 days left. The third prince will be inviting Qin Yao to a banquet. At that time, let's go together. Chu Ling spoke as the two of them turned and prepared to depart. The third prince's personality has always been domineering. I heard that he was one of the reasons why he acted against the Qin clan back then. He's an extremely decisive person. Why would he invite Qin Yao to a banquet this time around? Mu Rou curiously asked. She had naturally heard of the personalities of the princes of the royal clan. The third prince was young, and had outstanding talent. Not only that, he was also extremely intelligent. The reason why Qin Yao came here today was because of Qin Wu and Qin Chuan. According to the third prince's personality, he definitely wouldn't care about the attitude of the Snow Cloud country. Not only that, the third prince's personality was the most similar to the emperor when he was young. In addition to his talent in cultivation, he was highly regarded by the emperor. Now that the emperor was already old, He had already started to pave the way for the third prince to ascend the throne. How can we guess the thoughts of third brother? However, if Qin Yao wants to save Qin Wu and Qin Chuan, it's undoubtedly the ravings of a lunatic. I'm afraid that she would be humiliated by third brother. Chu Ling coldly snorted. This time around, third brother invited many people including Mo Qingcheng. I'm afraid that he wants to express his stance and attitude. Chu Ling was a princess, the daughter of a king. Based on their relationship, she could refer to the third prince as her elder brother. Yanara will definitely go as well. Mu Rou gloomily replied. He should be there, but Yanara wouldn't dare to be arrogant there. Chu Ling consoled. However, there's something very infuriating. Someone actually asked me to bring a person to the banquet. Who? Mu Rou asked. Emperor Star Academy, Qin Wentian, someone from the Qin clan. Chu Ling disdainfully replied. It said that this person's talent isn't bad, and his character is extremely arrogant. He even killed Orkhan's younger brother, Orphan, and doesn't know when to back off. Now, in order to see Qin Yao, he didn't hesitate to find someone to help him find me. Qin Wentian. Mu Rou had heard this name a few times before. Smiling, she continued. He and Qin Yao are brother and sister. What's the point of trying to curry favor with her? Not only that, since it's your friend who asked you to help, you should be calm and not make things difficult for others. If not, wouldn't you be making things difficult for your friend? Humph, Chu Ling curled her lips. Since she heard that her friend was also asked to help by someone else, she didn't really care. Chapter 76. 2 days later, Qin Wentian arrived at the entrance of a manor. The person who sent him here had already left after sending him here. This manor was located in the 5th district of the royal capital. The people who lived in this district were all nobles and aristocrats. Inclining his head, he could see a huge signboard with the words Violet King's Manor engraved on it. Violet King's Manor? Qin Wentian was somewhat familiar with this name. Abruptly, his eyes narrowed as he recalled that during Bai Qingsong's birthday celebration, the Violet King's Manor was one of the many transcendent powers in the royal capital. The Violet King's Manor sent people to Sky Harmony City to celebrate Bai Qingsong's birthday. Evidently, it was because of the Yi clan. Although the Yi clan was powerful, for a majestic king to have fallen to such a state, I'm afraid that they're not a king's manor. Qin Wentian silently speculated in his heart. What a coincidence. Asking for help, he'd actually ended up in the Violet King's Manor. Qin Wentian didn't know how the Bai clan was doing. That hypocrite Bai Qingsong had left a deep impression on him. His foster father had only agreed to the marriage because the ancestor of the Bai clan had some ties with Qin Wu. Qin Wentian had also treated the Bai clan with sincerity, but he wasn't as vicious as the Bai clan. In the end, he'd even helped the Yi clan to annihilate the Qin clan. If it was merely the expulsion of him from the Qin clan, he could still endure it. But the Bai clan had participated in the annihilation of the Qin clan. This matter would never be forgotten by Qin Wentian. Autumn Snow, she's also in the Royal Academy, right? Qin Wentian mused. From within the Violet King's Manor, a few silhouettes walked out. Qin Wentian's eyes narrowed as he gazed in their direction. This woman was actually someone he had met in the Dreamsky Forest. During those days, he had often fought with this woman to train his movement skills, which had helped him a lot. On the last day, another woman appeared, who seemed to be quite willful and had the temperament of a young lady. She was none other than this woman. Although Qin Wentian recognized Chu Ling didn't recognize him. Walking to Qin Wentian's side, she coldly asked, "Are you Qin Wentian?" "Yes." Qin Wentian nodded. "Wear this and you'll be my guard. Since I've promised someone else, I'll bring you in. However, don't give me any trouble," Chu Ling said. Qin Wentian's identity was a little sensitive. The Yi clan and the O clan weren't very friendly to him. If others knew that she had helped Qin Wentian, it wouldn't be good. All right. Qin Wentian put on the guard's uniform. Chu Ling seemed to be a little cold towards him, but this was also what he wanted. He didn't want to have anything to do with her. "You guys follow behind, let's go." Chu Ling mounted her horse and galloped away. Qin Wentian and the other two guards followed closely behind. Their speed was extremely fast. After a few hours, Qin Wentian discovered that Chu Ling had already brought him into the royal palace. However, they were on the left side of the royal palace, arriving at a gigantic manor. This manor had mountains and rivers, and the area it occupied was unfathomably vast. In fact, Qin Wentian could even sense traces of demonic qi emanating from it. Half of the imperial city is surrounded by the dark forest, including the imperial palace. There's demonic qi in this place, and it's connected to the imperial palace. It should be the dark forest outside the imperial palace. To think that there's actually a manor here, how luxurious. Qin Wentian gazed ahead. He could see several luxurious villas in the distance. It was a resting place in the middle of the dark forest. Only the members of the major clans would be able to afford such a luxurious manor. This is the imperial palace's hunting ground. It extends all the way to the depths of the dark forest. Follow closely. Otherwise, don't blame me if you get swallowed by demonic beasts. Chu Ling shouted as she rode on her horse. She didn't even turn her head as she galloped forward, ignoring the guards and Qin Wentian behind her. Indeed, she has the temperament of a young miss. Qin Wentian silently mused as he increased his speed. This hunting ground of the imperial palace was so vast, he would only be able to see Qin Yao when the banquet started. Muro. At this moment, Chu Ling heard a few silhouettes calling out to her. Those people were all mounted on white horses, and when they heard the voice, they slowed down. The female knight in the lead turned around and smiled. Chu Ling, you've arrived as well? Seems like we're all early. Chu Ling laughed. Behind Muro there were also 2 guards. However, her guards were all mounted on white horses. From this, one could tell that Muro and Chu Ling had different styles of doing things. For aristocrats like Chu Ling, her guards were all extremely powerful wuxiu. Their duty was to ensure the safety of their masters, and at the same time, enjoy the cultivation resources provided by their masters. Their statuses were extremely low, and only guards with outstanding strength would be valued. But even so, they still didn't have much freedom. Hence, those with true talent wouldn't be willing to become the guards of others. At the very least, they would want to be guests. Qin Wentian was astonished to see Muro. This girl was the one he sparred with many times in the City of Illusions. He didn't expect to meet her here as well. Muro seemed to have sensed something as her beautiful eyes shifted in the direction of Qin Wentian. As though she knew who Qin Wentian was, she lightly nodded her head, causing Qin Wentian to be stunned. Muro shouldn't know him. Qin Wentian didn't know that Chu Ling had mentioned to Muro that she would bring him here. Hence Muro guessed that he was Qin Wentian. However, she naturally wouldn't know that he was the man wearing the Kirin mask from the City of Illusions. Let's go. Chu Ling furrowed her brows when she saw Muro noticing Qin Wentian. She swept a glance at Qin Wentian. She didn't want others to know that she was helping Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's senses were extremely sharp. How could he not sense Chu Ling's obvious attitude? When I see Sister Qin Yao, I will no longer have anything to do with her. Qin Wentian sighed. He didn't like Chu Ling's character. Since she had promised her friend to bring him here, why did she have to look down on him? If she was afraid of implicating him, she wouldn't have agreed to her friend's request. At the same time, in the royal hunting grounds located at the border between the Dark Forest and the Imperial Palace, many nobles had arrived. The third prince was still young. Hence, the people he invited were naturally not from the older generation. Instead, they were all young nobles. The Yi clan's disciples had also arrived. Yi Zhan from the Royal Academy had also arrived at the royal hunting grounds. Other than his guards, he also brought along 2 people. Lu Yan, this is the royal hunting grounds. The disciples of the royal clan like to start their hunt here in the dark forest, tempering their strength. Yi Zhan smiled at the girl beside him. This girl was actually Lu Yan. Beside her, her elder brother Lu Yu was present as well. Back then, Yi Zhan, Orphan and the rest were pursuing Qin Wentian and Fan Lu. Yi Zhan halted his steps when he saw Lu Yan. That was the day he got to know Lu Yan, and after that he began to pursue her. Initially, because of Qin Wentian, Lu Yan was somewhat conflicted. However, Yi Zhan truly treated her very well. And in addition to Lu Yu's constant persuasion, she gradually accepted Yi Zhan. After all, what Lu Yu said was the truth. In this vast Chu country, there were many people with outstanding talent that surpassed them. They didn't have any backing, Nor did they have any resources. How could they compare to others? Sooner or later they would end up like their friends, dying a silent death while hunting demonic beasts. Too imposing, as expected of the royal hunting grounds of the Chu country. Lu Yu, who was at the side, continued, Yi Zhan, if it wasn't for you, Lu Yan and I wouldn't even have the qualifications to enter this place. Big brother, we are brothers, there's no need to be so polite. Yi Zhan's smile was gentle, and in addition to his handsome countenance, it caused people to feel extremely comfortable. Haha, that's right. From now on we are brothers. Lu Yu laughed uproariously, appearing extremely carefree. Even before the sound of Lu Yu's voice faded, his gaze abruptly froze as he stared ahead, only to see a dreamlike beauty appearing there. Yi Zhan followed Lu Yu's gaze as his eyes narrowed. The number one beauty of Chu, Emo Qingqing. Emo Qingqing is here as well, Lu Yu murmured. He had only seen Emo Qingqing once during the 9 Great Martial Academy's refinement grounds, and it was already hard for him to forget her. This woman was simply too breathtaking. However, he was also clear of his own status. It was impossible for him to have any interactions with Emo Qingqing. He could only fantasize about her in his heart. The number one beauty of Chu, she is indeed very beautiful. Lu Yan herself was also a beauty, but when she saw Emo Qingqing, she couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. It was as though when she stood in front of Emo Qingqing, she was inexplicably weaker than her. Other than Emo Qingqing, her friend Nolan was present as well. The two of them also saw the group of people here, but they quickly turned and walked away. That woman actually got together with Yi Zhan. I wonder if that brat Qin Wentian would be angered to death if he knew about this. Even now, that fellow still thinks that it was that woman who saved him, Nolan whispered. Emo Qingqing's beautiful countenance stiffened upon hearing her words. After which, she added in a low voice, I still owe him an apology. Why are you so stubborn? No matter what, you saved him once and even carried him on your back, giving him a high-grade second-level medicinal pill. So what if you misunderstood him? Let's just say that we're even. Nolan rolled her eyes at Emo Qingqing. But the situation that day, he must have been in despair. Emo Qingqing sighed. Thinking back to that day when Qin Wentian carried Fan Lu on his back, she couldn't help but blame herself. Chapter 77. Chu Ling and Mu Rou rode on their horses, bringing Qin Wentian and the rest to a vast grassy field. In front of them there was an entrance that was actually guarded by armored soldiers. This should be the royal garden of the hunting grounds. Qin Wentian gazed at the entrance. The structure was tall and majestic, exuding an aura of elegance and uniqueness. Not only that, it was extremely spacious. The descendants of the royal clan loved to stay here, as they entered the dark forest to hunt. His Highness the Third Prince and the esteemed guests from Snowcloud have yet to arrive. Please wait here and rest. A soldier walked up, as he spoke to Chu Ling and Mu Rou. The two of them dismounted their horses and waited outside. They both knew that there were other entrances to the royal garden. What a big face the Snowcloud country has, Chu Ling unhappily replied. After all, they are our guests. Let's just wait patiently. Mu Rou shook her head with a smile. At this moment, more and more people arrived, and all of them greeted Chu Ling and Mu Rou. Evidently, the majority of them were acquainted with each other. Although they weren't very familiar with each other on the surface, they appeared to be in harmony. Chu Ling, at this moment, a voice drifted over. Chu Ling turned her gaze over, and upon seeing the person who spoke, she couldn't help but smile. Yi Zhan, you're here as well? Yeah, I'm here. Yi Zhan smiled and nodded his head, after which he shifted his gaze onto Qin Wentian, who was standing behind Chu Ling. Qin Wentian's eyes were ice cold and flashed with killing intent. Evidently, Qin Wentian had recognized Yi Zhan. This was the person who had hunted him together with Orphan. Yi Zhan's countenance froze for a moment before he recovered, as a light smile appeared on his face. Qin Wentian. Yi Zhan spat out. Immediately, several people turned their gazes towards Qin Wentian, and very quickly, they recalled this name. After the Qin clan, a celebrity from the Emperor Star Academy who killed Orphan from the O clan. Chu Ling's expression stiffened. This Yi Zhan was acquainted with Qin Wentian. Not only that, he even called out Qin Wentian's name in such a loud voice. This caused her to be in a difficult position. However, the Yi clan's influence was so great that even her violet palace couldn't compare to it. However, when Qin Wentian saw Lu Yan and Lu Yu standing beside Yi Zhan, he couldn't help but feel uncomfortable in his heart. Back then in the dark forest, Yi Zhan and Orphan had chased after him and Fan Lu. At that time they had coincidentally saved Lu Yan. In order to prevent trouble from befalling Lu Yan, Qin Wentian had even instructed Lu Yan not to reveal that she was acquainted with him. However, Qin Wentian had never expected that Lu Yan would be together with Yi Zhan. Furthermore, their relationship seemed to be quite intimate. Yi Zhan seemed to have noticed Qin Wentian's gaze. Smiling, he pulled on Lu Yan's hand as he asked, You should be acquainted with him long ago, right?" Lu Yan's countenance was filled with awkwardness. After all, she knew that Yi Zhan had chased after Qin Wentian, and Qin Wentian had saved her and Lu Yu. From the bottom of her heart, she had a favorable impression of Qin Wentian. Lu Yan lightly nodded her head, as she smiled at Qin Wentian. "Thank you for the matter back then. No need, just treat it as me returning the favor." Qin Wentian's countenance was calm. Everyone had their own ambitions, and Lu Yan had the right to choose. However, Lu Yan had chosen Yi Zhan, who wanted to kill him. This caused him to be in a difficult position. How should he treat Yi Zhan? Even now, Qin Wentian still believed that Lu Yan had saved him back then. Yi Zhan's smile was filled with coldness. He looked at Chu Ling and continued, "Chu Ling, Qin Wentian is a descendant of the traitorous Qin clan. Not only that, he had killed Yi Mo and Yi Lang of the Yi clan. Don't tell me you don't know this? This bastard." Chu Ling cursed in her heart. "I didn't know that he was Qin Wentian, he was merely my bodyguard." "Bodyguard? So that's how it is." Yi Zhan's countenance was calm. He turned around and looked at Qin Wentian as he laughed. "So it turns out that you're willing to be someone else's servant. You've really gained face for the Qin clan. For the sake of Sister Yao, I'll temporarily tolerate her." Qin Wentian thought. He didn't expect Chu Ling to have such a character. Yi Zhan guessed that the reason Qin Wentian came here today was because of Qin Yao. However, he couldn't help but coldly laugh in his heart. As a descendant of the Yi clan, he naturally knew some insider information about today's banquet. Now that Qin Wentian had delivered himself to his doorstep, how laughable. Holding onto Lu Yan's hand, Yi Zhan walked away with a faint smile on his face. In an instant, Chu Ling became the focal point of the crowd. "Qin Wentian, you should go back. This place isn't suitable for you." Feeling the gazes of the crowd, Chu Ling involuntarily turned to Qin Wentian and said, "I will explain this matter to my friend. I don't wish to help you anymore." Chu Ling's voice wasn't loud, but the crowd could still hear her clearly. Evidently, Chu Ling was entrusted by someone to bring Qin Wentian here. A student of the Emperor Star Academy doesn't even have the qualifications to enter this circle. This is the difference in status. Lu Yu was also paying attention to Qin Wentian, as he sighed in his heart. Ever since he stepped into the royal capital, he had already deeply felt that life here was different from before. Here, there were many nobles and aristocrats, and the weak were prey to the strong. The Yi clan is the true trump card. Lu Yu silently mused. After which, he whispered to Lu Yan, although this Qin Wentian is interested in you, you have to draw a clear line between yourself and him. I know what to do. Lu Yan froze for a moment before lightly nodding her head. As for Qin Wentian, when he heard Chu Ling's words, his expression couldn't help but stiffen. Staring at Chu Ling, he suddenly felt that it was ridiculous. Since he had already agreed to help, and they were already here, why did Chu Ling say that she wouldn't bring him in? What a joke. Farewell. Qin Wentian laughed. It wasn't that he didn't have a temper, but because he wanted to see Qin Yao, he endured it. Who would have thought that Chu Ling would say such a thing to him? What's with your attitude? Chu Ling coldly snorted. Back then, if you didn't agree to help others, it would have been fine. But since you've already agreed, why are you scolding me like this? Do you really treat me like a slave? Who do you think you are? Qin Wentian coldly glanced at Chu Ling before flicking his sleeves and leaving. His speed was extremely fast, and his movement technique was extremely exquisite. Since Chu Ling didn't want to help him, there was no way he could beg her. He could only think of another way himself. At this moment, Mu Rou noticed Qin Wentian's movement technique. Her beautiful eyes froze as her heart pounded. She was extremely familiar with this movement technique. Mu Rou had fought against Qin Wentian many times in the dark forest. She was extremely familiar with this movement technique. Now that she thought about it, Qin Wentian's stature was somewhat similar to Qin Wentian's. It's him. Mu Rou's heart trembled. Wait. Mu Rou spoke, causing Qin Wentian to halt his steps as he turned his head to look at her. Follow me in. Mu Rou smiled at Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to be puzzled. We are friends, aren't we? I'm bringing a friend to the banquet. There won't be any problems. Mu Rou smiled sweetly. Although Qin Wentian was puzzled, he understood that Mu Rou wanted to help him. Hence, he didn't argue and replied many thanks. Mu Rou. Chu Ling unhappily stared at Mu Rou. Wasn't Qin Wentian going against her? Chu Ling, I won't interfere in what you do. Right now, I'm bringing him in not because of you but because of myself. Mu Rou spoke to Chu Ling, hoping that Chu Ling would understand that Qin Wentian wasn't targeting her. Is that so? Why do I feel that you're doing this on purpose? Chu Ling was extremely unhappy. Mu Rou, I treated you as a friend. Who would have thought that you would do such a thing? You've really disappointed me. After speaking, Chu Ling turned and left. Chu Ling Mu Rou still wanted to explain, but Chu Ling continued. There's no need to say anything more. In the future, let's go our separate ways. Just pretend that I don't have a friend like you. Mu Rou's countenance stiffened. She turned and saw Qin Wentian walking over. A smile appeared on her face, but this smile was filled with bitterness. Chu Ling is such a person, don't blame her. Mu Rou spoke to Qin Wentian. After which, she murmured, 2 days later, her anger towards me should dissipate. Qin Wentian sighed in his heart. For someone who could go back on a promise to a friend, their character could be seen clearly. Mu Rou had overestimated Chu Ling, but from this, it could be seen that Mu Rou had a kind heart. Chu Ling was a total stranger to him, yet she directly brought him in as a friend. She wasn't afraid of offending anyone. Compared to Mu Rou, Chu Ling seemed much more hypocritical. At this moment, someone from the manor came to welcome them, after which the guards allowed them to enter. Let's go. Mu Rou smiled at Qin Wentian, but she didn't expose Qin Wentian. In her heart, she was extremely astonished. The person who could contend against Yanaro was actually the new student of the Emperor Star Academy, Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian followed behind Mu Rou. They were led to a lush green grassland with rivers on both sides. On this grassland, a banquet had already been prepared. However, as the third prince had yet to arrive, no one took their seats. From afar in a pavilion, a group of silhouettes walked out. The person in the lead was a young man dressed simply and cleanly. He had a well-proportioned physique, black hair draped over his shoulders, and a pair of eyes that were filled with vigor. He was actually a handsome man. This handsome young man had a smile in his eyes, yet it was as though there was a divine light in them. His aura was extraordinary. Beside him, a young man dressed in white stood. Qin Wentian was actually able to recognize him. This young man was none other than the demon-level genius of the Emperor Star Academy, Luo Qianqiu. The two of them walked shoulder to shoulder, as though they were of equal status. After the two of them exited the pavilion, they halted their steps. The handsome young man smiled as he looked behind him, as though he was welcoming an esteemed guest. After which, a group of silhouettes walked out, and the person in the lead was none other than Qin Yao. His Highness, the third prince, has arrived. The third prince's demeanor is still as outstanding as ever. No wonder he's a heaven's chosen. Smiles could be seen on the faces of the crowd, as they couldn't help but to praise the young man. The third prince, Chu Tianjiao, was also known as Heaven's Chosen. He had the highest possibility of inheriting the throne of the Chu country, and was highly regarded by the emperor. Not only that, his talent was extremely outstanding, and he was ranked number 2 among the 10 prodigies. Chu Tianjiao, a Heaven's Chosen. Chapter 78. The first time Qin Wentian saw Chu Tianjiao, he already felt that this person was a dragon among men. Who would have thought that the third son of the emperor was actually such a young and handsome character? Everyone, please take your seats, there's no need to feel restrained. Chu Tianjiao slowly walked over, smiling at the crowd. First, he invited Qin Yao and the rest to take their seats, before he himself sat down, and the rest of the crowd followed suit. Today, the people I've invited are all outstanding youths of the same generation. This way there will be more topics to talk about. Chu Tianjiao laughed heartily. Let me introduce everyone. This is Qin Yao from Snowcloud Country, and to my left is my good friend Luo Qianqiu. I'm sure many of you have heard of him before. Mu Ro's seat was some distance away from the host's seat, while Qin Wentian sat below her. His gaze was fixated on Qin Yao, and Qin Yao also noticed him. However, Qin Yao's eyes were filled with hidden bitterness, as though she was blaming him for his actions. Previously, Qin Yao intentionally avoided meeting with Qin Wentian, because she didn't want Qin Wentian to be implicated in the matter of the Qin clan. Who would have thought that this fellow would actually come looking for her? Qin Wentian seemed to have understood Qin Yao's intentions, as he sighed in his heart. Sister Yao didn't want to implicate me in this matter. This was also the intention of second and third uncle back then. I naturally understand this point, but seeing that she came to Chu, how can I sit back and do nothing? I have to get to the bottom of this matter. How can you not know the genius of the Emperor Star Academy, Luo Qianqiu? A clear voice drifted over, as a few silhouettes walked over from afar. The person in the lead clasped his hands towards Chu Tianjiao, as he smiled. Yunaro is late by a step. Please forgive me, Your Highness. Yunaro, quickly come and take a seat. Chu Tianjiao didn't have the slightest bit of the domineering air of someone with a high status. Instead, he appeared amiable and approachable. As he spoke to Yunaro, you and Qianqiu are both geniuses of the Emperor Star Academy. There are so many geniuses in the Emperor Star Academy, but there's one who's currently in the limelight. He has young Lord Luo's blood ember fruits in his eyes, and is incomparably arrogant. Yunaro smiled as he walked to the side of Qin Wentian. Turning his gaze onto Qin Wentian, he laughed. Qin Wentian, am I right? Luo Qianqiu's gaze also shifted in the direction of Qin Wentian, as though he didn't care. Luo Qianqiu also shifted his gaze towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian and him were people from two completely different worlds. He still remembered that if it wasn't for the Green Cloud Alliance's leader, Ling Hua, appearing previously, he would have already killed Qin Wentian. But now the past was the past. Since he spared Qin Wentian, he no longer cared about Qin Wentian's life or death. Qin Wentian shifted his gaze onto Yunaro. Just like what Luo Huan had guessed, he met many people he didn't want to see here. But since he chose to come, he had no complaints. It seems that you shouldn't be here. Seeing that Qin Wentian didn't reply, Yunaro indifferently added. He came here with the identity of a servant. Yizhan smiled, causing Yunaro to nod his head. He then shifted his gaze onto Mu Ro, who was seated beside Qin Wentian, as he laughed. Mu Ro, why are you sitting together with him? He's my friend. Mu Ro smiled at Yunaro. Naturally, my friend would be sitting together with me. Friend? This person killed Yi Lang and Orphan. Mu Ro, are you sure he's your friend? Yunaro's smile was gentle, yet it caused Mu Ro's countenance to turn extremely unsightly. Yunaro's words were too vicious. If she continued to insist, she would undoubtedly offend both the Yi and O clans. Mu Ro's countenance fluctuated violently as she replied, a friend is a friend. Regardless of his identity, this matter concerns me alone. What if I tell you that Mu Yi died in his hands? Yizhan coldly laughed, causing Mu Ro's eyes to tremble as she stared at Qin Wentian. Back then in the dark forest, Orphan brought a beast tamer to hunt me down. I killed him. Qin Wentian nodded his head lightly when he saw Mu Ro looking at him. Mu Yi was killed by Fan Lu, so there was no difference from him killing Mu Yi. Since he had already done it, he would admit it. However, he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The only girl who was willing to speak up for him was actually Mu Ye's family. Since that's the case, Mu Yi can only blame himself for being inferior. Mu Ro silently sighed. Although her relationship with Mu Yi wasn't that harmonious, they were after all from the same clan. With regards to this matter, she couldn't help but feel uncomfortable in her heart. But even if that's the case, what does this have to do with me making friends? All of a sudden Mu Ro smiled. This is just a personal friendship of mine. It has nothing to do with my clan. Yunaro coldly laughed as he found a seat and sat down. Qin Wentian clenched his fists tightly. He was already close to 17 years of age, and had experienced many things in the past half a year. Compared to the past, he was no longer as impulsive as before. However, the current situation still caused him to feel extremely depressed. Smiling, he poured himself a cup of wine and toasted Mu Rou. If there's a chance, I will definitely repay this favor in the future. Qin Wentian gulped down the wine in his cup, as he swept his gaze over the crowd. The people here were all nobles and aristocrats, who would have the qualifications to interact with him. Involuntarily, his gaze landed on Lu Yan. However, Qin Wentian discovered that Lu Yan was intentionally avoiding his gaze. Seeing this, how could Qin Wentian not be moved? However, when Qin Wentian saw this, he merely laughed it off. Qin Wentian. Lu Yan abruptly spoke. Raising her cup, she faced Qin Wentian and said, "Thank you very much for the matter in the dark forest. In the future, if you ever need my help, there's no need to say anything more." Qin Wentian interrupted the other party's words. He similarly raised his cup and drained it in a single gulp. Everyone has their own ambitions. I don't have the qualifications to criticize your life, but I also won't ask for your help. From now on we are strangers. Lu Yan still wanted to speak, but Lu Yu spoke first. That would be for the best. Qin Wentian swept a glance at Lu Yu, as a sharp glint of light flickered in his eyes. He already knew that Lu Yu was a despicable person, but he couldn't be bothered to be calculative. In the future they wouldn't have any interactions. Standing up, Qin Wentian walked to the center of the crowd, looking at Chu Tianjiao. He was very clear that other than the Yi clan, there was also this heaven's chosen in front of him. Your Highness, I'm here today to see my sister. Can you allow me to speak a few words with her? Qin Wentian bluntly asked. Chu Tianjiao's countenance didn't change in the slightest. He smiled and nodded his head. If she has no objections, I naturally won't interfere. Many thanks, Your Highness. Qin Wentian spoke as he walked towards Qin Yao. After he was out of the crowd, he turned his head back and said to Qin Yao, "Follow me." Upon hearing Qin Wentian's stern voice, Qin Yao actually had a look of grievance on her face. She stood up and followed after Qin Wentian. This scene was truly laughable. Why did it feel as though Qin Wentian was treating her like an elder? Qin Wentian walked to a place far away before turning back. Seeing Qin Yao walking over, he couldn't help but ask, "What's going on?" "You rascal, I'm your sister." Qin Yao glared at Qin Wentian, unconvinced. "You still know." Qin Wentian took a step forward, his hands cupping Qin Yao's cheeks. His gaze was much gentler than before. "Sister, what's going on? Why did you become one of the candidates for the Crown Prince's wife? Was it of your own will, or was it forced by the Crown Prince?" "Wentian, you don't have to care about this matter. Just focus on cultivating in the Emperor Star Academy. Don't worry about the matters of the outside world." Qin Yao's heart melted as she saw the gentleness in Qin Wentian's eyes. Her voice contained hints of pleading, as she didn't want Qin Wentian to be involved in the matters of the Qin clan. Back in Snowcloud, she had always been inquiring about news regarding Qin Wentian. She knew that Qin Wentian was highly regarded by the Emperor Star Academy, and had a bright future ahead of him. Qin Yao didn't want him to be implicated. "How can I not care about your matters? If you are willing, then the Crown Prince of Snowcloud has to let me see if he's qualified. If not, as long as I, Qin Wentian, am still alive, I will not allow anyone to force you." Qin Wentian's gaze was filled with determination. This was his promise to Qin Yao. They had depended on each other for many years, and their relationship had long surpassed that of siblings. In fact, there were many times when he was more like an elder brother. How could he allow Qin Yao to suffer any grievances? Qin Yao stared at Qin Wentian as she spoke in a low voice. "When I was cultivating in the Snowcloud Academy, I got to know the Crown Prince of Snowcloud. He treated me very well, and even sent people to protect my safety. He was also willing to help me save my grandfather and father. Hence, I promised him that if I could really save my grandfather and father, I would become his woman." "Sister, why are you so silly?" Qin Wentian sighed. It seemed like Qin Yao was purely sacrificing herself for the sake of her father and grandfather, hoping to borrow the strength of Snowcloud. Second uncle's side has already reached a stalemate. As long as Chu mobilizes their troops, they will be defeated sooner or later. I can't afford to wait. Qin Yao's heart was filled with an uneasy feeling. In that case, why did you come to Chu? Qin Wentian asked. I wish to meet with my grandfather and father first, and see if I can negotiate with them. However, the attitude of Chu is unclear, and this is the first time I've seen the third prince. Qin Yao replied. Miss Qin. At this moment, a few silhouettes walked over from afar. They were none other than Qin Yao's bodyguards. Their gazes were fixed on Qin Wentian, and their countenances were extremely sharp, causing Qin Wentian to furrow his brows. Wentian, let's return first. There's no need to care about this matter anymore. Qin Yao lowered her head as she spoke, causing Qin Wentian to feel a sense of heaviness in his heart. I'm afraid this matter isn't so simple. Qin Wentian silently mused. After which, the two of them returned to their seats, only to discover that several people were currently discussing them. However, Qin Wentian didn't mind. Just when he was about to leave, two silhouettes walked over from afar. In an instant, the gazes of the crowd all shifted in that direction, because there was a beautiful silhouette that was too dazzling. The instant she appeared, it was as though everything in the surroundings had lost their luster. Only she was the main character. Those scions from the aristocratic clans all forgot their elegance as their gazes were fixated on that silhouette. It was as though every step she took could affect the hearts of the people. Where is she going? The hearts of the crowd involuntarily pounded as they saw Mo Qingcheng walking towards the direction of the crowd. How beautiful! Lu Yan noticed that Yi Zhan and Lu Yu were both in a daze, as a faint sense of disappointment appeared in her heart. Chapter 79. The person who had just arrived was none other than the number one beauty in Chu, Mo Qingcheng. Mo Qingcheng slowly walked forward, as the gazes of the crowd followed her footsteps. However, very quickly their countenances froze. Mo Qingcheng seemed to be moving in the direction of Mu Rou. Mu Rou and Mo Qingcheng shouldn't have any relationship, right? The hearts of the crowd mused. Not long after, Mo Qingcheng stood in front of Mu Rou. Staring at her back, the crowd had expressions of bewilderment on their faces. However, Qin Wentian discovered that Mo Qingcheng's gaze was actually on him. Casting a glance to his left and right, Qin Wentian discovered that he was the only one beside him. Qin Wentian, Mo Qingcheng called out in a low voice. As the sound of her voice faded, the pupils of the crowd all narrowed. Qin Wentian? Mo Qingcheng was here to look for Qin Wentian? They couldn't help but suspect if they had heard wrongly. It was said that Qin Wentian came to attend this banquet as Chu Ling's servant. Earlier they were still talking about him. What's the matter? Qin Wentian inclined his head, and the instant he saw that silhouette, his heart involuntarily palpitated. A countenance that could topple empires, an absolute beauty shyly standing there, her eyes like limpid autumn waters. This scene was simply too beautiful. He naturally recognized her. For a woman like Mo Qingcheng, no matter who saw her, they would never be able to forget her. I have a matter to discuss with you. Can you come with me? Mo Qingcheng softly spoke, causing the gazes of the crowd to freeze. They hadn't heard wrongly. Mo Qingcheng actually invited Qin Wentian to be alone with her. In their memories in the royal capital of Chu, there had never been a man who received such treatment. Sure. Qin Wentian directly agreed. He originally didn't want to stay here any longer, so he stood up and left the banquet. Mo Qingcheng nodded her head lightly to Chu Tianjiao, and didn't even bother to glance at the others as she left together with Qin Wentian. Staring at the back of the two of them, the entire banquet hall was incomparably silent. Many people stared at Qin Wentian, their eyes gleaming with a cold light. Qin Wentian. Lu Yu's expression was ice cold. Clearly he was jealous. Beside him, Lu Yan's expression was exceptionally interesting. However, Mo Qingcheng and Qin Wentian obviously didn't know what they were thinking. The two of them walked to a grassy area far away. Mo Qingcheng slowly turned and looked at Qin Wentian. I'm sorry about that day. Mo Qingcheng lowered her head as she apologetically replied. Looking at her expression, Qin Wentian found it extremely hard to blame her. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart, femme fatale. Luckily, his mental fortitude was extremely tough. If it was an ordinary youth facing such a situation, they would definitely find it hard to maintain their composure. We don't even know each other. Why are you apologizing to me? Although Qin Wentian's heart was in turmoil, he still remained calm and replied, so you're still blaming me? However, I didn't know that you were Qin Wentian that day. That's why I misunderstood when I saw you chasing after Orphan. Mo Qingqing's watery eyes stared at Qin Wentian with a hint of grievance in them. This kind of gaze was enough to melt the hearts of those who saw it. At this moment, Nolan, who was standing at the side, was completely dumbfounded. Heavens, when did the great beauty Mo Qingqing have such a feminine side? Nolan rubbed his eyes, thinking that his eyes were playing tricks on him. Forget it, it's not a big deal anyway. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled as he shook his head. He didn't even dare to look Mo Qingqing in the eye. He couldn't stand the look in her eyes. He was originally an open-minded person, and wouldn't haggle over minor matters. That day, he and Fan Lu were indeed too angry. But now that he thought about it, Mo Qingqing's misunderstanding back then was only normal. Not only that, when Orkhan threatened to kill them, Mo Qingqing had also told them to leave. However, the Mo Qingqing now, compared to the Mo Qingqing from that day, was too far apart. She gave off a surreal feeling. Qin Wentian didn't believe that Mo Qingqing had fallen in love with him at first sight. Nor did he know why. That's good. Mo Qingqing gently smiled. Are you also here to participate in the banquet hosted by the third prince? Qin Wentian suddenly asked. He did invite me, but I don't like too many people. Mo Qingqing smiled. No matter where she went, there would always be too many eyes staring at her. And these people were indeed very bored. I want to ask you something. What sort of character is the Crown Prince of Snowcloud? Qin Wentian suddenly thought of something as he asked. Mo Qingqing's status was definitely extraordinary. Maybe she would know something about him. The number of princes in the Snowcloud country is even more numerous compared to the Chu country. The Snowcloud country's situation is stable, and the authority of the emperor is even stronger than the Chu country. Not only that, the emperor of Snowcloud is in the prime of his life, but under such circumstances, the Snowcloud country has already decided on the position of crown prince. From this, one can see how outstanding the crown prince of Snowcloud is, far surpassing the other princes. He's the same as Chu Tianjiao, extremely powerful. Mo Qingqing slowly spoke, her words causing Qin Wentian's countenance to stiffen. The more powerful a character was, the harder it was to guess their intentions. Would such a character really mobilize so many people for the sake of Qin Yao, disregarding their relationship with Chu and helping Qin Yao to save her? This caused him to feel even more uneasy. Oh yeah, there's one more thing I want to tell you. Mo Qingqing stared at Qin Wentian, her countenance solemn. What's the matter? Qin Wentian asked. I've heard some rumors that the Crown Prince of Snowcloud has a very high possibility of marrying a princess of Chu. Mo Qingqing spoke in a low voice, causing Qin Wentian's heart to tremble violently, as his countenance instantly turned incredibly unsightly to behold. Is this news reliable? There shouldn't be any mistakes. Mo Qingqing nodded her head in reply. Thank you. Qin Wentian's heart was suddenly filled with an intense worry. Since the Crown Prince of Snowcloud had a marriage alliance with a princess of Chu, why would he go to such lengths to offend the Chu country for the sake of Qin Yao? Not only that, the news of Qin Yao coming to Chu, how big of a commotion would there be in the Snowcloud country? Maybe not many people knew about this. Qin Yao was only a candidate for the Crown Prince's wife in name. She didn't have any major powers supporting her in Snowcloud country, and not many people even knew of her existence. In other words, there was a very high possibility that Qin Yao was being used by someone else. Mo Qingqing sighed in her heart as she saw the expression on Qin Wentian's face. She also knew that the reason why Qin Yao was sent to Chu wasn't to save Qin Wu and Qin Chuan. Initially, she didn't want to tell Qin Wentian about this, because she felt that the current Qin Wentian wouldn't be able to change anything. It would be better for him to stay in the Emperor Star Academy and cultivate peacefully. However, this time around she met Qin Wentian here, and coincidentally Qin Wentian also had his own suspicions. Mo Qingqing nodded her head, but it was enough for Qin Wentian to understand. Wait, are you guys treating me like air? When are you guys going to finish chatting? Nolan, who was at the side, had her hands on her hips. Finally, she couldn't bear it any longer as she glared at Qin Wentian. She didn't know what kind of luck this fellow had, to be able to interact with Mo Qingqing alone. I'll take my leave first. Qin Wentian nodded his head, causing Nolan's beautiful eyes to freeze as she blinked. To think that it was actually Qin Wentian who took the initiative to say that he wanted to leave. This was truly causing her to be speechless. You better return to the Emperor Star Academy first. Mo Qingqing spoke to Qin Wentian. She was worried that he would be dragged into this mess. He couldn't care less about Qin Yao's matters. Qin Wentian didn't say anything. He merely nodded his head to Mo Qingqing before departing. His brows were tightly furrowed, evidently worried for Qin Yao. After the conversation with Mo Qingqing, his heart grew heavy. Qin Yao was one of the most important people in his life. How could he not be worried? There's one more thing. Mo Qingqing, who was standing behind him, spoke again. Qin Wentian turned his head, only to hear Mo Qingqing saying, "That Lu Yan, you don't owe her anything." Qin Wentian felt somewhat puzzled, but because he was still worried, he casually nodded his head and didn't ask any more questions. Is this fellow an idiot? Nolan walked to the side of Mo Qingqing, staring at the back view of Qin Wentian in a daze. There were very few people who could remain so calm in front of Mo Qingqing. Why didn't you speak more clearly? He didn't even know what you meant. You should have told him that you carried him on your back that day. Nolan smiled mischievously, causing Mo Qingqing to roll her eyes. Qin Wentian strolled about the hunting grounds, his heart heavy. The news of the marriage between the Crown Prince of Snowcloud and the Princess of Chu was still lingering in his mind. I'm afraid that I can only bring Sister Yao away now. Qin Wentian silently mused. No wonder earlier when he was chatting with Qin Yao, there were people who came to investigate. Maybe it wasn't because they wanted to protect him, but rather it was a form of surveillance. At this moment, the earth trembled. Qin Wentian abruptly stood up, only to see that in the distance, a group of warhorses were galloping madly, sweeping through the dark forest. These were none other than the silhouettes from the banquet, and it seemed as though they were on their way to hunt. Qin Wentian had been strolling about the dark forest for quite some time. Most probably, the banquet had already ended, and the descendants of the aristocratic clans had already entered the dark forest to hunt. Reaching into his robes, Qin Wentian retrieved the Kirin mask and wore it on his face. After which, his silhouette dashed in the direction of the sound of hooves, akin to a gust of wind. They've dispersed. As Qin Wentian ran, he discovered that the group of people had already dispersed into the depths of the dark forest. From time to time there would be some low-level demonic beasts roaming about, but they were all easily killed. Sister Yao's group is over there. Qin Wentian's gaze was fixed on Qin Yao's group, and he followed closely behind them. However, he had always been moving in the shadows. The terrain of the dark forest was the best cover for him. Yanaro. At this moment, Qin Wentian discovered that Yanaro wasn't riding his horse. Instead, he was following closely behind Qin Yao's group. This caused Qin Wentian's countenance to stiffen. What did Yanaro mean by this? Qin Wentian's senses had always been sharp. He discovered Yanaro's presence, but Yanaro didn't seem to notice him. He was like a hunter, following closely behind Qin Yao's group. There are people in the surroundings as well. Qin Wentian suddenly felt that he was being stared at. From all directions, silhouettes could be seen moving in his direction, surrounding him. What do they mean by this? If they wanted to act against Sister Yao, why would they use such a method instead of directly attacking her? Qin Wentian knew that if the people from Snowcloud had colluded with the Chu country, they would have too many methods to deal with Qin Yao. Why would they need to go through so much trouble? At this moment, Qin Wentian's mind was completely tensed up. He shifted his body to the side, only to discover that there were two people following him. Evidently, he had been discovered. Chapter 80. Qin Wentian's silhouette was as fast as lightning as he dashed towards the forest. The sounds of rustling echoed unceasingly, and after a period of time, the pursuers stopped, giving up on their pursuit. After all, they still had things they needed to do. At this moment, Yanaro's speed was also extremely fast. He waved his hands to the people around him as he commanded, "Follow me closely." Everyone nodded their heads in silence. Everything was proceeding in silence. Time flowed by slowly. The group of people departed from the royal hunting ground and had already entered the depths of the dark forest. Demonic chi permeated the air, and many of them slowed their steps as they advanced. Mu-Ro had already dismounted her horse. After killing a demonic beast, she retrieved the beast core in a clean and efficient manner. Many of them from the aristocratic clans would follow their elders to temper themselves when they were very young. Hence, they were extremely familiar with hunting. Demonic chi. At this moment, Mu-Ro abruptly raised her head, gazing into the distance. After which, without any hesitation, she turned and fled. She had long since learned how to discern the degree of danger based on the density of the demonic chi in the dark forest. She was afraid that she wouldn't be able to withstand this demonic chi. Hence she decisively fled to the side. Just as she fled, a terrifying wave of scorching chi gushed over. The ancient trees on both sides of the forest seemed as though they were on the verge of burning up. Very quickly, a few ferocious demonic beasts appeared in her line of sight. These demonic beasts had the bodies of lions, but their heads were even more malevolent. Not only that, their bodies were as tough as rocks, yet there was also a faint glow of fire flickering on their bodies. Astral demonic beasts, Firerock lions. This type of demonic beast could absorb astral energy from the fire attribute constellation to grow. Not only that, their bodies were as tough as rocks, and their defense was extremely tyrannical. Not only that, the Firerock lions were extremely ferocious and bloodthirsty. They ferociously pursued Mu-Ro. Mu-Ro sprinted with great speed, but very quickly, she discovered that there was also a powerful demonic chi in the vicinity of her. Chu-Ling, Mu-Ro saw a silhouette in the distance, currently defending against the encirclement of a pack of demonic wolves. The silhouette seemed to be in a sorry state, as though he would collapse at any moment. Other than Chu-Ling, another group of people were also battling against the demonic beasts. These people were none other than Qin Yao and some others from the Snow Cloud country. Mu-Ro madly sprinted in the direction of Chu-Ling's location. Even before she arrived, her second astral soul, the Windstorm astral soul, had already been released. Her speed increased tremendously, and in the blink of an eye, she neared Chu-Ling. Slashing out with her palms, an intense wind blade directly tore a demonic wolf apart. "You don't have to do anything," Chu-Ling said coldly, but her hands did not stop moving. "There's a powerful demonic beast coming. Let's go." Mu-Ro roared. However, it seemed that it was already too late. She, who was being held back by the demonic wolves, soon saw a few cinder-class lions charging over, surrounding her. "You deliberately harmed me." Chu-Ling's countenance turned ashen as she stared at the Cinderrock lions. Based on the aura emitted by these Cinderrock lions, they were at least at the 5th level of the arterial circulation realm, equivalent to the 3rd level of the arterial circulation realm. As for these astral beasts, their strength should be at the 5th or 6th level of the arterial circulation realm. The Cinderrock lions spat out a ball of flames towards them. Mu-Ro's countenance was extremely unsightly to behold, as the windstorm enveloped her body. Her movement technique was extremely fast, and she dodged the flames as she inched closer to the Cinderrock lions. The defense of these Cinderrock lions was extremely strong, and based on her strength, if she didn't land a direct hit on the Cinderrock lions, she wouldn't be able to do anything to them. While the two of them were fighting miserably, Yanaro slowly walked out, with a smile that was not a smile on his face as he stared at the battlefield. "Yanaro, why aren't you helping?" Chu-Ling called out to Yanaro, only to see Yanaro laughing as he replied, "Should I help you or should I help Mu-Ro? Mu-Ro hates you very much, so don't be so thick-skinned and stick yourself to others." Chu-Ling coldly replied, but as the sound of her voice faded, she let out a cry of fear as she was almost attacked. Mu-Ro's countenance stiffened. In the past, her relationship with Chu-Ling was extremely good. Who would have thought that because of Qin Wentian, Chu-Ling would actually hate her so much? Yanaro didn't seem to be in a hurry to act as he laughed. "What conditions do you guys promise me? I'll give you 50 pieces of Yuan meteor stones from the 2nd heavenly layer." Chu-Ling silently cursed Yanaro in her heart. This bastard actually dared to extort her at such a time. Mu-Ro didn't say anything and continued fighting. At this moment, a gust of wind blew past at an extremely fast speed. The silhouette of a person dashed to Mu-Ro's side, and with a dragon's roar, he punched out with his fist, directly hitting a Cinderrock lion. Boom! The terrifying force of the punch actually sent the Cinder Rock Lion flying back. One could see how powerful the dragon's subduing fist was. Is that him? Mu-Ro's countenance brightened when she saw who it was. This was a man wearing a Kirin mask. Although he had changed his clothes from the way he moved and the way he executed the dragon's subduing fist, it should be none other than Qin Wentian. Chu Ling also noticed the appearance of Qin Wentian. She didn't expect that the Kirin masked man from the City of Illusions would appear here. She wondered which academy he was from. Leave it to me. Qin Wentian's voice was low as he executed the 9 heavenly Garuda movement technique. Momentarily, Mu-Ro only saw a series of afterimages appearing behind him. The demonic wolves had no way to withstand a single strike from Qin Wentian. Even the Cinder Rock Lion would suffer heavy injuries if it was struck by Qin Wentian. The dragon's subduing fist, an innate technique at the pinnacle of humanity, could unleash a terrifying might in the hands of Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian was using divine energy from the 5th heavenly layer. How could his attacks not be tyrannical? Yunaro's countenance turned extremely unsightly when he saw this scene. It was him, the member of the Knights Association in the City of Illusions. In the blink of an eye, in front of Qin Wentian, there was only one remaining Cinder Rock Lion, the human Wu Xiu, whose strength was at the 6th level of the arterial circulation realm. Roar! The Cinder Rock Lion let out an earth-shattering roar of rage as it madly dashed towards Qin Wentian. In that instant, Qin Wentian didn't even bother to dodge. He directly dashed towards the Cinder Rock Lion, not using any movement techniques. Die! A low voice sounded out from Qin Wentian's mouth as he simultaneously blasted out a tyrannical palm strike. This palm strike was erratic and contained both hardness and gentleness, containing a terrifying might. With a cracking sound, the skull of the Cinder Rock Lion was directly shattered into pieces. After which it slumped to the ground, not a single sound could be heard. How powerful! Chu Ling's heart trembled. Qin Wentian's aura was only at the 5th level of the arterial circulation realm. Yet he actually possessed such terrifying combat prowess. Most probably, he could even kill stellar martial cultivators at the 6th level of the arterial circulation realm. As for Yunaro, his countenance flickered with a sharp light. The palm strike earlier seemed similar to the Thousand Hands imprint, but at the same time it wasn't. Mu-Ro, on the other hand, was much calmer. She had sparred with Qin Wentian for many days, and knew that he was extraordinary. Her silhouette flickered as she helped Chu Ling sweep away the demonic wolves in the surroundings, and very quickly, the battlefield was cleared. On the other side, although the battle between Qin Yao and the rest had yet to end, Qin Yao wouldn't be in any danger. Boom! At this moment, a tyrannical sword intent abruptly gushed forth from Yunaro's body. He took a step in the direction of Qin Wentian, as a desolate killing intent gushed towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian abruptly turned around, as a cold glint of light flickered in his eyes as he stared at Yunaro. Busy! Yunaro dashed towards Qin Wentian, as the sword chi exuding from his body grew increasingly tyrannical. It was as though a terrifying storm of swords was brewing around him. Boom! Qin Wentian's footsteps shook the ground, as he madly sprinted towards Yunaro. The boundless divine energy in his body frenziedly circulated towards his 5 arterial pathways, as the sound of his divine energy rumbling could be heard. Yunaro stabbed out with his finger, as a sword materialized in the middle of his finger, piercing towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's body swayed back and forth like a willow catkin, and at the instant the sword neared him, he merely brushed past the sword chi. Humph! Yunaro coldly laughed. With a flick of his palms, he punched out with his 5 fingers, as though the sword chi wanted to lacerate everything in its path. And at the same instant, Qin Wentian's arterial pathways emitted a terrifying rumbling sound. His body abruptly shifted to the side, as his palms slammed towards Yunaro with the force of a hurricane, akin to a raging tempest. The attacks of the two collided together, as the palm imprints were unceasingly torn apart. Qin Wentian was forced backwards, and so was Yunaro. He felt his blood and chi churning violently within his body, and when he looked at Qin Wentian again, an intense killing intent could be seen in his eyes. Qin Wentian lowered his head and glanced at the front of his robes. Numerous holes had been lacerated by the sword chi, and if it weren't for the fact that he had retreated so quickly, the sword chi would have already injured him. Given Yanaro's cultivation base at the 7th level of arterial circulation, it wouldn't be easy to defeat him. At this moment there were many silhouettes around. Qin Wentian surveyed his surroundings, as his silhouette flickered as he retreated to the side. He cast a glance in the direction of Qin Yao, and at this moment, Qin Yao and the rest had already settled their problems, and were continuing on their way. No! At this moment, a cry of terror drifted over, causing Qin Wentian's countenance to stiffen. It was the voice of Qin Yao. Qin Wentian sprinted in that direction, and very quickly, his gaze froze as his entire body trembled. In Qin Wentian's field of vision, there was a black-colored castle. This castle was extremely large, yet it exuded a sense of eeriness, as though it couldn't see the light of day. The pitch-black gates of the castle were made from black iron, and gave off an extremely heavy feeling. However, just outside of this castle, there was a drill ground surrounded by demonic beasts. In the middle of the drill ground, a group of terrifying demonic beasts were currently attacking a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's entire body was covered in blood, and his hair was in a mess. Only his eyes were still filled with vigor. "Father!" Qin Yao screamed. "Father!" Qin Wentian drew in a deep breath, trying his best to maintain his calm. Yanaro and the rest had followed Qin Yao all the way here. Could it be that they were waiting for this moment, to allow Qin Yao to arrive here and witness such a cruel scene? Was this battle prepared for Qin Yao? What was Chu Tianjiao's purpose? Yanaro, Chu Ling, Mu Rou, and many others also arrived here, as they stared at the castle in front of them. The legendary Black Castle, Mu Rou murmured in a low voice. The Black Castle was a place where death row criminals were imprisoned. It was rumored that it was located in the depths of the dark forest, and once you entered the Black Castle, it would be impossible for you to escape even if you grew wings. That middle-aged man was Qin Yao's father. In that case, he should also be Qin Wentian's father. Thinking of this, Mu Rou walked to the side of Qin Wentian as she whispered, "The Black Castle is an extremely important place, and the security inside is incomparably tight. Only those who enter can enter, but not those who leave. However, Qin Chuan is currently outside the Black Castle. This might be a trap, don't fall for it." Qin Wentian's heart trembled. So it turned out that Mu Rou already knew of his identity. Naturally, this was a trap. But why would Chu Tianjiao want to lay such a trap? He didn't understand. In his heart a raging fire burned. Chapter 81. Upon seeing Qin Yao, Qin Chuan's countenance changed. He couldn't help but berate her. "Qin Yao, don't bother about me." Qin Yao's countenance stiffened as her countenance paled. Tears welled up in her eyes as she replied, "Father, how can I not care about you?" After which, she turned and stared at Yanaro. "Where's Chu Tianjiao? Why are you doing this?" Chu Tianjiao didn't appear. Yanaro took a step forward as he emotionlessly stated, "Qin Yao, this man is a serious criminal of our Chu country. This matter has nothing to do with you, and you are not allowed to interfere." Good, how vicious. Qin Yao's countenance was ice cold. "I want to save him." One of them exclaimed, "This place is Chu, and that man is a serious criminal of our Chu country. Not only that, the experts from our Snowcloud country aren't here." Only now did Qin Yao realize that Chu Tianjiao had used the hunting grounds as an excuse to allow them to temper themselves, while leaving the experts from Snowcloud country behind. Not only that, along the way there seemed to be someone intentionally or unintentionally guiding her here. It seemed like this was all part of Chu Tianjiao's plan. "This is my matter, it has nothing to do with you." Qin Yao spoke as she turned and walked towards Qin Chuan. "Qin Yao, think carefully. Those who dare to barge into the Black Stronghold shall be killed without mercy." Yanaro roared. Qin Chuan also roared in rage, "Qin Yao, go." However, how could Qin Yao listen to him? She dashed towards the drill grounds where Qin Chuan was located. Yanaro coldly laughed. "Qin Yao, you are courting death." As the sound of his voice faded, several silhouettes appeared in the surroundings, surrounding the drill grounds. Apart from them, Yizhan, Lu Yu and the others who attended the banquet had also arrived. Their hearts were filled with astonishment. So it turned out that the third prince had already made arrangements. The Black Stronghold was a restricted area, and if it wasn't for someone intentionally allowing them to enter, they wouldn't even be able to get close to it. Qin Yao dashed into the drill grounds. Although Qin Chuan was heavily injured after being imprisoned in the Black Stronghold, he could still unleash the combat prowess of a cultivator at the 5th or 6th level of arterial circulation. He was even stronger than Qin Yao. Not only that, Yunaro and the rest were like tigers watching their prey, as though they were watching a show. They didn't seem to be in a hurry to deal with Qin Chuan and Qin Yao. Instead, they seemed to be waiting for something. Qin Wentian stepped forward, but he was held back by Mu Rou. Mu Rou spoke in a low voice. Qin Yao has already fallen into the trap. You can't walk right into it. If Qin Wentian interfered at this time, Yunaro and the rest would have a reason to deal with Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's pitch-black eyes stared at the two silhouettes on the drill ground. He looked into Mu Rou's eyes and said in a low voice, "How can you endure after seeing your father like this? How can you be a human?" As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Wentian's body sprinted madly. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, he stepped into the drill grounds, leaving Mu Rou staring at his silhouette in a daze. The men of the Qin clan all had bones of steel. Seeing Qin Wentian's participation, the crowd was stunned. Even Qin Chuan and Qin Yao were puzzled. But very quickly, a cold smile flickered in Yunaro's eyes. This Kirin young man was courting death. "Friend, this matter has nothing to do with you. Leave." Qin Chuan killed a demonic beast, as he spoke to Qin Wentian. However, Qin Wentian didn't reply. His movements were swift and nimble, and the might of his palms pulsed out as he killed a powerful demonic beast. At this moment, the demonic beasts on the drill ground were gradually being cleared out. However, in the surroundings, there were still many soldiers with bows in their hands, aiming their arrows at them. "Now you still want to leave?" Yunaro coldly laughed. Following which, the rest of the soldiers dashed forward, pouncing towards Qin Wentian and his two companions. He had exchanged blows with the Kirin young man twice, and to him, this was simply a humiliation. The sword qi radiating from Yunaro was extremely terrifying. As he howled in rage, his body madly dashed forward, as he pointed his finger in the air, as though he wanted to unleash the power of his innate technique to the extreme. Qin Wentian stepped out, as his arterial pathways rumbled. His palms congregated with boundless might as he blasted out with the revolving sea imprint, no longer concealing it. "Die!" Yunaro howled in rage as his astral soul erupted. This finger strike was one of his strongest attacks, and its might was incomparably terrifying. However, the terrifying palm imprint blasted out by Qin Wentian seemed to be able to engulf everything in its path, destroying everything in its path. The terrifying vibrational force caused the robes of the two of them to be torn apart. Sounds of slicing rang out, as the Kirin mask on Qin Wentian's face was torn apart by the sword qi, revealing his true features. His devilishly handsome countenance was filled with a resolute determination, while the eyes of the youth were filled with a cold killing intent. "Qin Wentian." Yunaro's voice was filled with an intense killing intent. Never in his wildest dreams would he have imagined that the opponent he was unable to defeat would actually be Qin Wentian, whom he had humiliated a few months ago. Those from the aristocratic clans were all stunned as they stared at Qin Wentian. Not long ago, the target of ridicule at the banquet, the person who was rumored to be extremely arrogant in the Emperor Star Academy, had actually become so powerful. Chu Ling's countenance was extremely unsightly to behold. Initially, she was filled with disdain towards Qin Wentian, but now she discovered that Qin Wentian's combat prowess far exceeded hers. This made her feel extremely uncomfortable. "He's already so powerful," Lu Yan murmured in a low voice, as a hint of disappointment could be seen in her heart. "Wentian." Qin Chuan, upon seeing that the person who had arrived was actually Qin Wentian, felt both joy and worry in his heart. He was happy because Qin Wentian had only cultivated for less than a year, yet he already possessed such tyrannical combat prowess. "Wentian, who sent you here?" Qin Yao's countenance paled. She didn't expect that Qin Wentian would appear here. Qin Wentian turned his head back and smiled at the two of them. The coldness in his eyes disappeared, replaced by a gentle smile. "Father, sister." "Nonsense, leave immediately." Qin Chuan roared in rage, causing Qin Wentian's countenance to stiffen. "Stay here, kill them all." As the sound of Yunaro's voice faded, a group of experts lunged towards them. Qin Wentian and Yanaro once again clashed against each other. Sword chi crisscrossed the area. Palm imprints pulsed out in a frenzy as they clashed against each other. Lu Yu, go and kill him. That will be considered as a meritorious deed, paving the way for your future. Yi Zhan spoke to Lu Yu. Lu Yu's countenance stiffened as he glanced at Yi Zhan. After which, he nodded his head and brandished a divine weapon in his hands as he advanced forward. Lu Yan's heart trembled as she witnessed this scene. She appeared exceptionally weak and delicate as she cast a deep glance at Qin Wentian, but she didn't say anything. Qin Chuan also had his own opponents. He was very clear that since they were outside of the Black Stronghold, it would be very easy for their opponents to take their lives. Yet, they still chose not to act because of that laughable deduction. Wentian, you are actually already so strong. At this moment, Qin Chuan's entire body was covered in dirt. But as he stared at the back view of the youth, his eyes were filled with tears. He, Qin Chuan, had a son and a daughter. What more could he ask for? He could only lament in his heart at the ruthlessness of the emperor. While Yanaro and Qin Wentian were fighting, there were already quite a few people surrounding them, ready to act at any moment. At this moment the two of them clashed once again. The sharp sword and the palm imprints clashed against each other. Both of them were extremely strained. A chance. Lu Yu and the rest froze when they saw this scene. Since Qin Wentian had delivered himself to their doorstep, they had to kill him. Seeing the attacks coming towards him from his left and right, Qin Wentian roared in rage, "Scram!" A terrifying amount of divine energy was spat out from his mouth as a terrifying palm imprint blasted that person away. At the same time, Qin Wentian's gaze sharpened as he stared at Lu Yu. Lu Yu's sword was already flying towards him, and he could only retract his hand. Executing the seizing hand, Yanaro's sword chi broke through his defense, leaving behind a bloody wound on his body. At the same time, Yanaro's body was forced back by the impact of Qin Wentian's palm imprint attack. Qin Wentian didn't bother to look at the bloody wound on his body. Instead, he shifted his gaze onto Lu Yu, his hand still holding onto Lu Yu's sword. Lu Yu glanced at his surroundings, only to discover that he was alone. His countenance couldn't help but stiffen as he stared at Qin Wentian. "Qin Wentian, I was forced to do this for the sake of my younger sister's future. In any case, you are going to die today. If you really have feelings for Lu Yan, why don't you grant me your wish?" Qin Wentian indifferently glanced at Lu Yu, and with a jerk of his hand, the sword was snatched away by him. Clutching onto the tip of the sword, he stared at Lu Yu. "On account of our previous friendship, I won't kill you." Scram. Lu Yu retreated slightly, yet he didn't give up. He still wanted to deal with Qin Wentian. "You idiot." From afar, two graceful silhouettes sprinted over. These two silhouettes were none other than Mo Qingcheng and Nolan. "Qin Wentian, Qingcheng has already told you that you don't owe Lu Yan anything. Why are you so stupid?" That day in the forest outside of Sky Harmony City, it was Qingcheng who fed you medicinal pills and helped you to boil the medicine. Only when we saw Lu Yan and the others did we leave. Lu Yan was merely passing by and glanced at you. "You idiot." Nolan was infuriated. This fellow didn't cherish himself at all. Lu Yu wanted to kill him, yet he still cared about Lu Yan's friendship? What a fool, what a fool. Qin Wentian's heart trembled as he turned his gaze onto Mo Qingcheng's beautiful countenance. Mo Qingcheng stood there, looking as beautiful as ever. She lightly nodded her head. "It was that little rascal beside you that led me to you. This is also the reason why it recognized me." Qin Wentian thought back to the day when he first arrived at the royal capital. The first time he truly saw Mo Qingcheng, little rascal had indeed leapt into her sedan. His gaze involuntarily shifted to Lu Yan as he spoke. "So, it wasn't you who saved me outside of Sky Harmony City?" Lu Yan had a blank expression on her face. Her elder brother Lu Yu had always told her that Qin Wentian liked her, and that was why he treated her so well. She didn't know that Qin Wentian did it because he wanted to repay her kindness, and it was true that she didn't save Qin Wentian. She was merely passing by. Now that she heard the words of Mo Qingcheng and Qin Wentian, she seemed to understand something. So, everything was just a misunderstanding. Seeing the expression on Lu Yan's face, Qin Wentian understood everything. A smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face, one that was somewhat bewitching. "So it turns out that we've only met once. Qin Wentian spoke. After speaking, he turned his gaze onto Lu Yu, as a look of mockery flashed in his eyes. I've even saved your lives in the dark forest before. I have no right to interfere in your lives, nor do I have the right to control which circles you want to enter. We are merely strangers, but I really don't understand why you would be so shameless, wanting me to be sent to you to be killed, in exchange for your future. How ridiculous is this? As the sound of his voice faded, Qin Wentian stepped out, as his killing intent gushed forth frenziedly, causing Lu Yu's countenance to turn incomparably unsightly, as terror flickered in his eyes. Chapter 82. Lu Yu retreated, his countenance pale as he spoke. Qin Wentian, on account of Lu Yan, let's forget about this. Qin Wentian inclined his head and gazed in the direction of Lu Yan, as a mocking smile appeared on his face. Although it was a misunderstanding, it should have been a beautiful one, and we could still be friends. Sadly, you made use of this misunderstanding to kill me. As for Lu Yan, I don't owe her anything. As he spoke, the killing intent radiating from Qin Wentian intensified. Not only did he not owe Lu Yan anything, on the contrary, Lu Yan owed him her life. Lu Yan stared in the direction of Qin Wentian, as though she wanted to cry. She understood that Qin Wentian was right. She was the one who owed Qin Wentian. What was laughable was that when her brother Lu Yu said that Qin Wentian liked her, she actually believed him and allowed her brother to make use of Qin Wentian's feelings to deal with Qin Wentian. Die. Qin Wentian blasted out a palm imprint towards Lu Yu. Lu Yu raised his hands to defend, but was instantly engulfed by the terrifying palm imprint, killed in a single strike. No! Lu Yan squatted on the ground and cried. She closed her eyes as though she didn't dare to look at this scene. When Qin Wentian looked at Lu Yan, there wasn't much sympathy in his eyes. Earlier, when Lu Yu tried to kill him, Lu Yan didn't even say a word. Maybe her character wasn't bad, but that attitude of hers was extremely disappointing. After all, he had saved her life before. Very good. At this moment, a voice drifted over from afar. The gazes of the crowd turned over, only to see the third prince Chu Tianjiao and Luo Qianqiu galloping over. They sat on their horses, looking down at Qin Wentian with indifference and calmness. It was as though nothing in front of them could affect them. Qin Wentian. Rescuing a prisoner on death row is a crime punishable by death. Even if you are a student of the Emperor Star Academy, it's the same. Chu Tianjiao calmly stated, convicting Qin Wentian with a single sentence. As soon as he finished speaking, the soldiers around the drill ground immediately aimed their arrows at them. At this moment, it seemed that they could not escape even if they had wings. Our Wentian silly children. Qin Chuan felt guilt in his heart. His children had a bright future ahead of them. Were they going to be buried here? The earth abruptly trembled as a terrifying demonic qi gushed over, causing the expressions of the crowd to freeze. Qin Chuan was also stunned, and his eyes flickered. Chu Tianjiao's countenance was as calm as ever. However, a faint smile could be seen on his face as he murmured in his heart, "You finally couldn't endure it any longer? I've been waiting for a long time." The gates of the Black Stronghold opened as a group of troops clad in armor exited. Chu Tianjiao commanded, "Capture the three of them and bring them back to the Black Stronghold. I want them alive." Yes. The group of experts rushed out and pounced towards Qin Wentian and the others. A horde of demonic beasts galloped over, appearing in their vision. Qin Chuan's heart was ignited with a glimmer of hope as he shouted to Qin Wentian and Qin Yao, "All of you flee, don't bother about me. They won't dare to kill me." After speaking, he dashed towards the group of experts rushing over. Lifting his palms, he placed them on the crown of his head. "If you guys take another step forward, I'll definitely die on the spot." Qin Chuan roared, his voice booming out, causing the group of experts to slow down as they turned their gazes towards Chu Tianjiao. Qin Chuan turned his body and stared at Chu Tianjiao as he icily stated, "A man of character doesn't need to be pitted even if he dies. I, Qin Chuan, am an iron-blooded man. I'll do what I say." Qin Chuan was gambling. These few days, Chu Tianjiao had been making use of him, as though he wanted to draw out something. It was as though Chu Tianjiao was gambling with his father. Qin Chuan was betting that Chu Tianjiao wouldn't dare to let him die. And indeed, Chu Tianjiao waved his hands, causing the experts to halt their advance. At the same time, the horde of demonic beasts rushed over, as though they were about to go berserk. The archers instantly aimed their arrows at the demonic beasts, as they began to slaughter them. Qin Chuan spoke to Qin Wentian and Qin Yao. You guys leave if there's even the slightest chance you have to escape? Father. Tears flowed down Qin Yao's cheeks. How could she bear to part with her father? Qin Wentian also looked at Qin Chuan. Father, if you want to leave, let's leave together. If you don't leave now, I'll die right here in front of you. Qin Chuan raised his palms, causing Qin Wentian's countenance to turn extremely unsightly, as his body heaved up and down violently. Father! Qin Yao shouted loudly, only to see Qin Wentian pulling her hand as they madly dashed towards the side of the road. Mo Qingqing inclined her head and stared at the skies, feeling somewhat anxious in her heart. Why weren't they here yet? Qianqiu, do me a favor. Chu Tianjiao spoke in a low voice to Luo Qianqiu. Luo Qianqiu nodded his head, understanding Chu Tianjiao's intentions. After which, he mounted his warhorse and galloped in the direction of Qin Wentian and Qin Yao. Other than Luo Qianqiu, there was also a group of silhouettes chasing after Qin Wentian and Qin Yao. This group of people were all extremely young, yet the aura they exuded was exceptionally cold. Mo Qingqing stepped out, only to hear Chu Tianjiao saying, Qingqing, I don't wish to obstruct you. Upon hearing his words, Mo Qingqing halted her steps as she sighed in her heart. She was very clear that if Chu Tianjiao interfered, it would be impossible for her to help Qin Wentian even if she wanted to. Chu Tianjiao, why must you do things so ruthlessly? Mo Qingqing stared at Chu Tianjiao as she spoke. I know that the ancestors of the Mo clan had a deep connection with Qin Wu, but things have already happened so long ago. The Qin clan is no longer the Qin clan of the past, and the Mo clan has already chosen to stay out of this matter. Qingqing, why must you interfere in this matter? Chu Tianjiao replied. Why must the Chu clan be so ruthless? Mo Qingqing sighed as she gazed into the horizons. She knew of Luo Qianqiu's identity. In the Chu country, Luo Qianqiu was a taboo existence. Even the royal clan wouldn't dare to antagonize him, and even the Emperor Star Academy could only tolerate him. Not only that, Luo Qianqiu's combat prowess was exceedingly high. Mo Qingqing could only wish Qin Wentian good luck. Even if she wanted to interfere, she didn't have the strength to do so. Qin Wentian pulled Qin Yao along as he madly sprinted through the dark forest, executing the Garuda movement technique to the extreme. However, he discovered that the pursuers were all extremely powerful, and their speed wasn't any slower than him. Sister, you leave first. Qin Wentian spoke to Qin Yao. No way. Qin Yao decisively rejected. If you don't leave, neither of us will be able to escape. But if you leave, I still have a chance. Qin Wentian spoke to Qin Yao. Your speed is too slow. You will only drag me down. Qin Yao felt a sense of disappointment when she heard Qin Wentian's words. She knew that Qin Wentian was intentionally angering her. But what Qin Wentian said was the truth. Wentian, father has already been captured. You must not fall into their hands again. Qin Yao's beautiful eyes were filled with tears as she stared at Qin Wentian. Don't worry, sister, I still have to take care of you. A smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face. Qin Yao heavily nodded her head. I will wait for you. As the sound of her voice faded, Qin Wentian released her hand as he halted his steps. Leave quickly. Qin Wentian berated. Qin Yao wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes as she endured the pain in her heart and continued running. Seeing that Qin Yao had left, a gentle smile blossomed on Qin Wentian's face. However, when he glanced at the pursuing silhouettes, his eyes flickered with a cold light. In his hands, the gold Punisher sword was clenched tightly. The pursuing silhouettes, upon seeing that Qin Wentian was alone, wanted to split up and pursue him. However, Qin Wentian only saw the gold Punisher sword in his hand as he roared in rage. Whoever dares to take another step forward, this third-rank divine weapon will explode. As the sound of his voice faded, astral energy gushed into the gold Punisher sword as a terrifying sword chi gushed forth, causing the pursuing silhouettes to abruptly halt their steps. This is a third-rank divine weapon bestowed upon me by an elder of the Emperor Star Academy. If you wish to die, come at me. Qin Wentian's lips curled up in a cold smile. The pupils of the pursuing silhouettes narrowed when they felt the sword chi. Based on the talent Qin Wentian had displayed in the Emperor Star Academy, there was a high possibility that his words were true. Kill him from afar. Luo Qianqiu galloped over, as he coldly commanded the pursuing silhouettes. Momentarily, a tyrannical aura gushed forth from the bodies of the pursuing silhouettes, blasting towards Qin Wentian. The divine energy in Qin Wentian's body circulated frenziedly, as he blasted out with the revolving sea imprint. The tyrannical energy collided with the silhouettes, causing Qin Wentian's body to be forced backwards by the force of the collision. His blood and qi churned violently, yet he still couldn't bear to release the sword in his hand. He wanted to buy time for Qin Yao. Kill! The group of experts continued advancing, unleashing powerful attacks in succession. Qin Wentian retreated step by step as he coughed out blood. His countenance paled, but the resolution in his eyes was as incomparably resolute as before. If I can't protect my father today, and if I allow Sister Yao to fall into danger as well, I would have wasted my reputation as a man. Qin Wentian's countenance was ice-cold. The revolving sea imprint in his palms blasted out in a frenzy, filling the skies with destructive palm imprints. However, this could only delay him for a short period of time. Not long after, Qin Wentian had already coughed out an unknown amount of blood. Within his body, the astral energy in his body was on the verge of drying up. Those who were attacking unceasingly from afar were all silently admiring Qin Wentian's tenacity. Very swiftly, they began to move in different directions. Qin Wentian was going all out. They needed a group of people to circle around him and pursue Qin Yao. But at this moment, Qin Wentian roared in rage as he lunged forward. The gold element sword in his hands slashed out as he frenziedly channeled astral energy into it. How fast was Qin Wentian's speed? In an instant, he closed the distance between him and Qin Wentian. The gold element sword also slashed out, and in an instant, a terrifying sword light erupted forth, transforming into a rain of swords that filled the skies. And at the same instant, because Qin Wentian had disregarded everything and rushed forward, he also suffered a terrifying impact. His body was flung through the air, and when he landed on the ground, he coughed out another mouthful of blood. However, his eyes were still fixated on the scene in front of him, as the rain of swords continued to frenziedly reap lives. Just like what Ren Qianqing had said, the gold element sword was a single-use divine weapon. Its might was extremely strong, and its attack range was also extremely vast. In an instant it had wiped out countless lives. Chapter 83. Qin Wentian sat on the ground, ignoring the turbulence in his body. He retrieved his silver needles and pierced them into various acupoints. In an instant his blood boiled once more as he executed the 12-linked life needle technique, wanting to break the shackles of his bloodline. At the same time, he donned a pair of divine weapon gloves that were inscribed with the origin-returning divine imprint. Boom! A leg swept over, leaving behind afterimages of the leg, wanting to destroy Qin Wentian, who was sitting on the ground. Since this person was able to survive the attack of the gold element sword, it was evident that he had some outstanding points. The strength of his leg was extremely terrifying, and his speed was also extremely fast. Hence he was the first to rush over. Boom! Qin Wentian stretched out his palms, directly grabbing onto the leg that could shatter boulders. That person lost his balance as his countenance drastically changed. He stared at Qin Wentian only to see a blood-red light flickering in his eyes, akin to that of a primordial beast. An astral hammer appeared in Qin Wentian's left hand as he ferociously smashed it towards his opponent. Instantly, a scream of agony rang out. At the same time, Qin Wentian stood up as the aura exuding from him grew increasingly violent. With a step, he dashed towards the two experts who wanted to pursue Qin Yao. His perfect-grade Garuda movement technique, in addition to his explosive strength, caused his speed to be incomparably fast. In an instant, he had already caught up to them. The Vajra imprint slashed out, directly killing the two of them. Luo Qianqiu sat on his warhorse, personally witnessing everything that happened. His countenance fluctuated slightly. He didn't expect that Qin Wentian would actually use a secret art to activate his bloodline. In addition to the divine weapon gloves, he was able to erupt forth with even greater combat prowess. However, in his eyes, Qin Wentian was merely putting up a last-ditch struggle. At this moment, Luo Qianxiu inclined his head and stared into the distance. He could sense a terrifying demonic qi rushing over in his direction, causing the sky to be shrouded by a layer of haze. Seems like the commotion today wasn't small at all. To think that a small wave of demonic beasts would be triggered. Luo Qianxiu couldn't help but exclaim in his heart when he saw the overwhelming amount of demonic qi. Don't chase after Qin Yao. Those people also saw the terrifying demonic qi coming from afar. They nodded and looked at Qin Wentian. Now it was time to kill him first. Luo Qianxiu dismounted his warhorse and took a step forward. In an instant, Qin Wentian felt an intense sense of danger. Although Luo Qianxiu's steps appeared slow, it felt as though he could descend at any moment. His entire body was bathed in the might of lightning, akin to a terrifying god of thunder. Boom! The ground trembled as Luo Qianxiu appeared in front of Qin Wentian. Punching out with his fist, boundless lightning might gushed forth as the resplendent rays of light were so blinding that no one could open their eyes. Qin Wentian took a step forwards, as his arterial circulation imprints erupted forth with a force that could topple mountains and overturn seas, causing the heavens and earth to howl. Luo Qianxiu's steps were as steady as empty tie as he advanced forward. His fist light vibrated thrice, as though he had punched out thrice consecutively. The terrifying shockwaves were transmitted to Qin Wentian's body, causing him to feel as though his body was about to be torn apart. How powerful! The spectators who had wanted to rush forward couldn't help but exclaim in admiration upon seeing Luo Qianxiu's strength. This was Luo Qianxiu, who had the bearing of his father. Back then, Luo Qianxiu's father had turned the entire Chu country upside down. Qin Wentian could also feel the tyrannical might of Luo Qianxiu's astral souls and innate techniques. With a howl of rage, the divine energy stored within his divine glove erupted forth. In that instant, he blasted out with his palm, akin to a raging tsunami, his palm imprint engulfing the heavens and earth. Luo Qianxiu's countenance stiffened as he released his lightning seigneur astral soul. Qin Wentian felt his entire body going numb. He also circulated his divine energy to his eyes, yet his body was still flung backwards from the impact. At the same time, Luo Qianxiu's footsteps slashed across the ground as he was forced backwards. He couldn't help but stare in bewilderment at the divine glove on Qin Wentian's hands. Lifting his head, Luo Qianxiu could feel that the demonic qi was getting stronger and stronger. He could even see demonic beasts madly sprinting towards him. Involuntarily, he shouted, "Retreat!" As the sound of his voice faded, those who had survived the pursuit of Qin Wentian all retreated. However, Luo Qianxiu once again advanced towards Qin Wentian. Before he retreated, he had to kill this brat first. Qin Wentian swallowed the blood he was about to spit out when he saw Luo Qianxiu approaching. The divine energy in his body started to churn violently. Luo Qianxiu's strength was too strong, and the disparity between their cultivation bases was too great. Luo Qianxiu was at the peak of the 7th level of arterial circulation. He could deal with Yanaro, who was at the 7th level of arterial circulation, but the disparity between him and Luo Qianxiu was too great. Go! Luo Qianxiu landed in front of Qin Wentian as he blasted out with his palms. Qin Wentian only felt a lightning-type zune rushing towards him. He had no way to defend against it. Gathering all his strength, Qin Wentian blasted out with a palm strike. However, he could feel his palm strike being destroyed unceasingly. Finally, a terrifying mandate of lightning penetrated into his body, causing him to be flung through the air once again, before slamming heavily onto the ground. His entire body no longer had the slightest bit of strength left. Luo Qianxiu saw a group of demonic beasts madly sprinting towards him. He turned and fled at an extremely fast speed, causing rumbling sounds to echo unceasingly. This was the sound of the demonic beasts trampling on the ground. A demonic beast landed beside Qin Wentian, lowering its head and glancing at Qin Wentian. After which, it took a detour around Qin Wentian's body and continued its mad dash forward. Very quickly, more and more demonic beasts dashed towards Qin Wentian. However, none of these demonic beasts dared to trample on Qin Wentian's body. Instead, they took a detour around Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian could sense all of this. He felt as though he was about to die. His consciousness was already drifting about, as though it was difficult for him to regain his consciousness. If my consciousness dissipates, I will die. I have to live on. In Qin Wentian's heart, an incomparably strong conviction surfaced. He couldn't die. How could he die before he could exact his revenge? His father, Qin Chuan, was trapped in the Black Stronghold. How could he die? After Sister Yao left, he might fall into a dangerous situation at any time. How could he die? If he died, how could he face the gratitude of Teacher Mustang? If he died, how could he face the care and concern of senior sister Luo Huan? If he died, Fatty would most likely be bullied by those from the Knights Association. Qin Wentian, he couldn't die. His consciousness couldn't dissipate. At this moment, an extremely powerful demonic beast appeared beside Qin Wentian. It was the black-winged condor. Its body was covered with phoenix feathers, and its eyes were as sharp as swords. The black-winged condor lowered its head and stared at Qin Wentian. Its sharp eyes flickered with uncertainty, as though it was contemplating something. Qin Wentian could sense the presence of the black-winged condor. It was as though the black-winged condor had grown eyes, and could see everything in the surroundings. As long as the black-winged condor willed it, he would die a miserable death on the spot. I can't die. The conviction in Qin Wentian's heart grew stronger and stronger. Abruptly, it was as though a dream force was born. Abruptly, he and the black-winged condor appeared in a unique space. The black-winged condor froze, as a look of bewilderment flashed in its eyes. Dreamscape. The black-winged condor stared at Qin Wentian. It was as though Qin Wentian could hear its words. He didn't want to die in the dark forest. His intense conviction had actually allowed him to step into the second level of the Dreamcast art, the dreamscape. This was Qin Wentian's dream. He had created a dreamscape, and the black-winged condor had been dragged into it as well. With the black-winged condor's strength, it could forcibly tear apart the dreamscape and retreat. However, it didn't. What kind of bloodline do you have in your body? The black-winged condor was able to communicate with Qin Wentian because this was Qin Wentian's dream. I don't know. Qin Wentian shook his head. Then who are you in the Chu country? Why do you have the Dreamcast art? The black-winged condor asked again. The Dreamcast art was extremely rare in the Chu country. Only now did Qin Wentian understand that the intelligence of the demonic beasts in the dark forest was much higher than what he had imagined. I'm Qin Wentian from the Sky Harmony City of the Chu country. As for the Dreamcast art, it's a cultivation technique passed down to me by an elder of mine. Qin Wentian cautiously replied. The black-winged condor muttered to itself for a moment before continuing. You've suffered heavy injuries, yet you didn't die. Not only that, you also have such a powerful bloodline. Let me gift you a stroke of good fortune. Whether you live or die, it's up to you. After speaking, the black-winged condor tore apart the dreamscape. After which, Qin Wentian felt himself soaring up into the air, as the black-winged condor grabbed onto him with its talons, and flew towards the depths of the dark forest. After the departure of the black-winged condor, the demonic beast tide also began to recede. It was as though the black-winged condor was the leader of the demonic beast tide. Very quickly, the dark forest returned to its former tranquility. In the air there were experts riding on demonic beasts. Qingcheng, where are you? An old man riding on a griffin asked. Mo Qingcheng's beautiful eyes flickered as she replied, I'm not sure. I was intercepted by Chu Tianjiao, and Luo Qianqiu chased after Qin Wentian. Luo Qianqiu again. A cold glint of light flickered in the eyes of the old man. Beside him there was another expert. It was none other than Ren Qianxing. This Chu Tianjiao's actions are crazy and audacious, and he dares to do anything. Not only that, he's also very close to that person. If he were to become the Emperor Star Academy, I'm afraid that in the future, the Emperor Star Academy would be in danger. Ren Qianxing spoke in a low voice, as he cast his gaze towards the depths of the dark forest. Qianxing, just like what Qingcheng said, Qin Wentian's talent is in no way inferior to Luo Qianqiu's. Not only that, he's also someone who values relationships. Now that I'm in a desperate situation, if he survives, the Emperor Star Academy will definitely do its best to support us. The old man spoke, causing Ren Qianxing to nod his head. I've already planned to include him in my plans. If he survives, the Emperor Star Academy will pave the way for him. As the sound of his voice faded, they continued their search in the depths of the dark forest. However, they still couldn't find any traces of Qin Wentian, not even his corpse. Chapter 84. In the depths of the dark forest, there was a hillside that very few people set foot on. There was not the slightest bit of demonic qi in this place. It was a pure land. On top of a gigantic boulder, a silhouette could be seen lying on it. This silhouette was none other than Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian did not even know where he was. He only knew that he had to protect his will. The 12 link chains needle technique. Uncle Black had once warned him not to use the needles before stepping into Yuanfu. He had no way to withstand the explosive power of his bloodline limit. Previously, it was only because he was under the care of those from the Emperor Star Academy that he managed to escape unscathed. But this time around, not only did he have to use the needles, his body was also severely injured. How could his life not be in danger? At this moment, Qin Wentian had no strength left in his body. He could only maintain his vitality with his strong willpower. I can cultivate in my dreams. Qin Wentian was very clear that for cultivators, strength would allow their vitality to flourish. If he wanted to live, he had to recover his strength first. However, to his astonishment, he discovered that this space seemed to be isolated from the heavens and earth. He had no way to sense the constellations around him, nor was he able to draw astral energy into his body. This situation made Qin Wentian feel a little desperate. Without energy in his body, he might even starve to death in a few days. Could it be that this place will be my burial ground? Qin Wentian's heart was filled with reluctance. He couldn't die here. He wanted to break through the shackles of this space. His strong will gave birth to a powerful dream consciousness, allowing him to spy on this space. On this vast and empty land, he was the only one lying on a gigantic rock, feeling so helpless. But at this moment in his dream, he saw a mountain peak that was faintly discernible not too far away, piercing through the heavens. This is not my dream. Qin Wentian's heart pounded violently, after which more mountain peaks appeared all the way until there were 9 towering peaks that towered into the heavens. Qin Wentian's heart was filled with awe. The 9 peaks were like objects from beyond the heavens, faintly discernible. Was this all real or was it a dream? Even Qin Wentian himself couldn't tell the difference. Qin Wentian's will drifted about as he saw a scene of a middle-aged man in green robes roaming the world. He arrived at the top of a mountain, and upon seeing the beautiful scenery, he decided to take a nap on a huge rock. When he fell asleep, 9 peaks appeared around the hillside. Then countless images appeared on the 9 peaks. Qin Wentian's eyes couldn't take it all in. He saw the middle-aged man plucking a constellation from the sky with a single hand. He saw the green-robed middle-aged man cleaving apart mountains and rivers with a single slash, and he even saw the middle-aged man piercing a hole in the heavens with a single finger. However, everything seemed to be a dream. After the middle-aged man woke up, he patted the dust off his body and smiled. After that, he walked away in a carefree and unrestrained manner. As for the mountain peaks, they disappeared without a trace. In a dream I can travel the world, in a dream I can see the past and present, in a dream I can pluck the stars and moon, in a dream I am the craziest. Life is but a dream, why not be carefree and have a great dream? The middle-aged man laughed in a carefree and unrestrained manner, leaving behind a great dream on the hillside. A great dream. Qin Wentian's heart trembled slightly. His will drifted towards a certain mountain peak as the image of the mountain flickered unceasingly. In an instant, Qin Wentian felt a suction force gushing over, wanting to devour his will. He discovered that he was already in the image of the mountain peak. This place seemed to be recording a dream. The middle-aged man in green transformed into a Kuanping, soaring between the heavens and the earth. That pair of huge eyes suddenly stared at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian only felt a terrifying demonic light flashing in the eyes, sharper than swords. With a miserable shriek, Qin Wentian felt as though he was about to die. No! Qin Wentian roared in his heart. His consciousness was still alive in this world, how could he die? Since it's just a dream, why would I be afraid of this heaven-dominating qi? Qin Wentian abruptly inclined his head, not fearing that pair of demonic eyes at all. It was as though a myriad of beams of light could penetrate through his body, yet his heart remained unmoved. The Kuanping soared through the heavens and earth, riding the wind for tens of thousands of miles. Who could compete with its speed? Qin Wentian's heart trembled violently. His consciousness retreated from this image and entered the second mountain peak. In the second mountain peak, the middle-aged man in green transformed into an ancient deity, capable of plucking the stars from the heavens and earth. Qin Wentian didn't know how many times he had died. Time and time again, he endured that destructive intent, using his strongest will to prevent his consciousness from being extinguished. On the third mountain peak, the middle-aged man in green could shatter mountains and rivers with a single finger. With a single point of his finger, the heavens and earth were destroyed, everything was destroyed. On the fourth mountain peak, the middle-aged man in green roared, causing the mountains to crumble and the earth to split apart. On the ninth mountain peak, the middle-aged man in green could see through everything with a single glance. All living beings would be annihilated under his gaze. It was unknown how many times Qin Wentian had experienced the agony of being on the verge of death. Under that kind of pressure, he was like a grain of sand in a desert, so insignificant and insignificant. However, he still managed to preserve his life. 9 ancient mountains, 9 types of towering wills. Each and every one of them possessed the power to destroy the heavens and earth. Qin Wentian's consciousness retreated as he sighed. What a great dream! Although the middle-aged man in green had left behind a dream here and his strength was extraordinary, Qin Wentian didn't believe that the 9 mountain peaks were real. Just like what the middle-aged man in green had said, life was just a dream. Why not be carefree and unrestrained? 9 ancient mountains, 9 dreams. Why aren't these the 9 abilities of the middle-aged man in green? Qin Wentian mused in his heart. Each dream contained the power to destroy the heavens and earth. But why couldn't the middle-aged man in green magnify his strength to the max, allowing him to have a great dream? Genius. Qin Wentian sighed. This middle-aged man in green was definitely a genius. He had once thought that the great dream astral soul required a specific innate technique to unleash its power. However, the middle-aged man in green had given him a huge shock. Dreams in and of themselves were a type of power. The power of dreams could be found everywhere. Qin Wentian seriously contemplated. Right now, he had calmed down and was no longer as fearful of death as before. He wouldn't die. This kind of conviction grew stronger and stronger. Let's have a grand dream. Qin Wentian murmured in a low voice, protecting the strand of his will as he contemplated the painting of the 9 peaks. Time slowly flowed by. On the first mountain peak, the painting shone with a resplendent light. At this moment, in the dark forest, many demonic beasts could be seen heading in this direction. After a period of time, they saw a second mountain peak appearing. Momentarily, a terrifying sealing force appeared, causing the demonic beasts to tremble in fear. These demonic beasts knew that this place sealed all external energy. Without yuan qi, without demonic qi, they would be trapped in a dream, not knowing where they were. However, at this moment, in that space, the dreamlike mountain peak actually appeared, emitting a resplendent light. When the 9 mountain peaks lit up, a terrifying energy permeated the air. Terrifying waves of energy gushed forth, enveloping the entire dark forest, sealing everything. The demonic beasts started to go into a frenzy as they frantically tried to escape. In the air, the black-winged condor's eyes gleamed with sharpness as it stared in that direction. Did that young man who could create dreams really resonate with that dream? The 9 mountain peaks converged together in the air, transforming into a resplendent screen that isolated everything from the outside world. In the middle of that screen in Qin Wentian's dream, a silhouette flickered. This silhouette was none other than the middle-aged man in green. Naturally, only Qin Wentian could see the appearance of the middle-aged man in green. At this moment he was smiling as he stood in the air, staring at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian pays his respects to Senior. Is this a dream? Qin Wentian couldn't help but to respectfully greet the middle-aged man. This is my dream will. You can enter my dreams and allow a strand of my dream will to manifest itself. I'll bestow upon you a stroke of good fortune. What do you want? The middle-aged man smiled as he stared at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian stared at the screen of light in the air as he spoke. Senior, you must have used a sealing technique to seal this dream here, right? I want the 9 mountain peaks to not obstruct my cultivation. That's simple. The middle-aged man's footsteps trembled as the sealing technique shattered, From now on, this sealing technique will not obstruct your cultivation. What else do you want? I want the demonic chi of the dark forest to be absorbed into my body, transforming into the Kuanping imprint. Qin Wentian spoke again, only to see the middle-aged man grabbing out with his palm. Momentarily, the entire forest howled as boundless demonic chi gathered there, transforming into a terrifying vortex that flowed unceasingly into Qin Wentian's body. If you can't digest it, this can't be considered good fortune. What else do you want? The middle-aged man continued. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness, akin to an unsheathed sword. The reason why he was in such a dangerous situation today was all because of the third prince of Chu as well as Luo Qianqiu and the others. In the future, he would definitely repay them. I want this Chu country to not be able to obstruct my path. Qin Wentian's voice rang out. The middle-aged man laughed again. I'll leave this for you to do. It can't be considered a request. Obtaining this opportunity can be considered good fortune. Junior doesn't dare to ask for too much. In the future, if there's a chance to meet with Senior again, I will definitely thank you personally. Qin Wentian respectfully replied. A good fortune, a dream. Since you are able to activate the dream I left behind, allowing me to manifest my dream will, this can also be considered good fortune. Even if you don't want good fortune, I will still bestow you good fortune. This is my path of cultivation, it has nothing to do with you. The middle-aged man laughed. After which his eyes flickered as a resplendent imprint rushed into Qin Wentian's sea of consciousness. Qin Wentian's sea of consciousness trembled as he awoke from the dream. At the same time, the dream will of the middle-aged man soared into the horizon, disappearing into the horizon in the blink of an eye. A good fortune, a dream, this was his path of cultivation. On the lonely hillside, only Qin Wentian quietly lay there. There was no middle-aged man, no screen of light, no 9 mountain peaks. You're tuning into the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.